Don't take off the cat channel.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, January 17th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gimmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1104.
This is No Agenda.
Armed with nothing but a compass and a rubber knife, and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm satiated by sorghum this morning, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
All right, title right off the bat, satiated by sorghum.
Now,
You're still on the sorghum trip. You're never going to make it taste good.
Are you writing your little intros down?
Always.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Because the rubber knife thing, I know it's not something anyone would ever ad lib. It's funny.
You've never heard this? I think I may have used this as an opening years ago.
The rubber knife, yeah. It's cute.
Probably. But it's true. That's all we got. Compass, rubber knife. Good to go.
Yeah, no, I'm understanding this satirical aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah, no knives, no guns, no nothing. Shut
right.
up, sit down.
All right, so you're sorghum.
Yeah, it's some sort. There's some cereal. Some German company makes some cereal. It's got sorghum as a main element.
And most of the world eats sorghum in one form or the other.
Sorghum is, I think, the number 2 or number 3. It's in the top 3 of the grains. We have wheat, you have rice, and you have sorghum. Those are the big 3. And you'd think, since it's in the big 3, that it would be something Americans would eat, but apparently it's just shipped to Africa.
Yeah.
And I
have some mush.
Why this is.
Well, now you know. It tastes like crap. Give it to them.
It's like, is it cheap to grow? I mean, why grow it at all? Would the Africans not eat wheat? They refuse to eat rice. Too much trouble to boil. I mean, I don't understand why they eat sorghum. And talk about too much trouble to boil.
Maybe.
I believe you have to boil sorghum to death.
Hold on. Let me look for something here. I know what to do.
Now, we have a number of chefs, professionals, people that are far above and beyond our cooking abilities that listen to this show. Have they played with sorghum? I don't think so.
Well, can I get this sorghum anywhere I want? Is it available?
It's very hard to come by.
Oh.
You go to Whole Foods, you're asking for some sorghum, the 3rd most popular grain in the world.
No sorghum.
Hey, I would like some of the 3rd most popular grain in the world, sorghum. Do you have any?
Well,
What?
Well, can you send me some? Because I just found a Instapot recipe for sorghum. That's got to be the epitome. Instapot sorghum. Brought to you by the No Agenda Show.
Somebody sent me a bag of sorghum through Amazon, so you can order some.
Oh, okay, good. Anyway, from sorghum.
Sorghum. Well, this is a ruined meal in waiting.
I don't know. I've been loving my Instapot.
Yeah, you would. I think you only like it because it's Instapot.
No, it's not that instant because you always got to saute stuff, and then it takes 10.
I'm talking about the word pot. Oh, it must be good. It's got the word pot.
Oh, jeez. Really?
Okay, it's a cheap joke.
You want to hear a cheap joke?
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham. Here he is. He was asked to speak in front of what was the team that the president served fast food to?
Oh, the Clemson Tigers.
Clemson Tigers. So the president asked Lindsey to make a short speech.
Well, they said be short. I started this speech short, and I'll end it short.
Come on.
You can tell this is an educated crowd.
Oh, racist. Whatever that meant.
The topper was not.
Hey, but
no, don't you think that? Now, I found that it was semi-charming that the president went out and bought all this crap food for this football guys.
Yeah.
Now, the reactions on Twitter were funny because, These men are, they're finely precision machines of athleticism. They could never eat such things. And anyone who knows any of these guys ever, they eat this stuff by the ton.
That's like my 3 months in college in West Virginia. I was the white shadow, and the football team, the Tigers, I think, they would be like, hey, white boy, let's go to Mickey D's. I had 8 big black football players in my car. Would drive to Morgantown. Oh, yeah. Love it.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah, love it. Love it. The thing that
they probably like that more than some kind of fey gourmet meal that maybe some other president would have set out for him.
I didn't clip it, and I wouldn't even have thought to bring it up. But the president started off by saying something about, first I was thinking, maybe have the first lady make some salads and the second lady do some salads in the back, which was deemed misogynist. I think it's just rude towards his wife. If I had said that, the keeper would have pulled me aside at a certain point and said, listen, this is not how you talk about me. It was
the salad maker.
It was like, wow.
I'm sure he heard about it.
Yeah, but that's the kind of oaf he is. Oaf.
I think oaf's a good word.
An oaf.
I think he did him a favor. I'm sure those guys loved all those Big Macs.
Of course they did. And he had Wendy's and he had Burger King. Didn't have Chick-fil-A, which I thought was a mistake. Could have riled some more people up with the racist sandwich.
How come there's no I didn't notice any Hardee's in there.
But this Lindsey Graham, he's flipped 180 degrees on his attitude about the president, and we finally know what's going on. We go to MSNBC.
Stephanie, before Donald Trump got elected, Lindsey Graham called Donald Trump a racist, xenophobic bigot. That is Lindsey Graham's words. I doubt Lindsey Graham could tell you Donald Trump's had a change of heart in the last 24 months. I bet what the change of heart has been with Lindsey Graham, not the president.
Or it could be that Donald Trump or somebody knows something pretty extreme about Lindsey Graham. We're going to leave it there.
Oh, he's blackmailing him. Yes.
Sure they do. That's what it is.
He's secretly gay, Stephanie. That's what it is. And he's holding it over him. I'm going to out you, Lindsey.
Because nobody knows.
There has been so much nuttiness in the news. In fact, I'm going to go right into this clip, and then I have an observation. This is Carl Bernstein, one half of the legendary Woodward and Bernstein duo. What all journos today, they aspire to be these guys. And Bernstein is on CNN.
And what everybody can see is that he has not acted with Russia from the United States having a strength advantage with Russia. Rather, he has done what appears to be Putin's goals. He has helped Putin destabilize the United States and interfere in the election, no matter whether it was purposeful or not. And that is part of what the draft of Mueller's report, I'm told, is to be about.
So this is about the draft of Mueller's report, and Trump has willingly or unwillingly, or I even heard Clapper say wittingly, his favorite word, has helped Putin destabilize the United States.
Oh, the place is falling apart.
Which brings me to the shutdown. If the president truly is a puppet of Putin, then this shutdown is nothing less than an actual attack by Russia.
Yeah.
We are under attack by Russia. It's so easy to use these things. Why don't they do
that? These are dreamed up. These are fantastic memes.
These are great memes.
They sit around and they dream this stuff up, and then they say, let's roll these talking points out.
Except they didn't do this. They didn't do this one. They didn't. I mean, this is an obvious one. They didn't sit down and say, hey, wait a minute. We can call this shutdown. We can call it an attack by the Russians.
Yeah. Oh, they're listening to our show, some people.
Some.
It'll go into the pot and come out as a talking point. Putin's puppet.
Speaking of the Russians, Sir Gene, the Earl of Texas.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Yeah, he's Earl Gene, Sheriff of Texas, something like that.
Yeah, something.
He celebrated the Russian New Year last Sunday, as he does every year.
I didn't know they had a new year of their own.
Yes, Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
And here I am. I'm like, well, okay, but does it always fall like around the 12th or the 13th? Is it always on a Sunday? He's like, no, Gregorian calendar. It took me a while to get the concept that it may not be completely in sync with our calendar. So he celebrated that at Russia House.
Is he an Orthodox Christian?
He celebrates the New Year on that day. I don't know if he's
I think
Orthodox.
he celebrates all New Year's.
Well, where there's vodka, there's gin.
Yeah.
But I tell you,
it's Russians.
You would have loved this dinner. He brought in just people, crazy, interesting people. Like a guy who was one of the founding partners of Guthrie Ranker. And he told me about how this whole deal with Anthony Robbins came together, which really wasn't Anthony Robbins' idea. They had some of these materials and they packaged him into the very first Power Talk series, which I thought was an interesting story.
Well, Guthrie Ranker is a notoriously good marketing company for doing that sort of. It's abnormal marketing. It's done direct to customers, usually over television.
It's kind of, it's the infomercial that they really pioneered the infomercial, I would say.
Well, I don't know. I would have asked them specifically about Barry Betcher and his influence on the infomercial, but that's another.
No, then I will ask him.
Yeah.
Because he's in Austin. The best part, though, this Russia House, man, those guys know how to do it right. We had a waitress, and you got to imagine, she had a 70s Austrian porn. Imagine that, right? And she had on a maid's outfit with short pants. I swear to God, she had the white, the little maid thing on her head, and everything's black. And then as she backed away from the table, it was cut off, it was high cut off, showing her legs. It was just completely odd. I said, Gene.
Latest style in Moscow.
I said, Gene, you should invite her to the wedding. He's like, yeah, I will. I said, but she has to wear that outfit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think the keeper's going to love that idea.
It was her idea. All right, so this Mueller report turns out it's going to be a big dud, and everyone's getting.
Hold on a second. First of all, right now we're in the moment where there's talking about it coming out to be this Mueller report is never going to come out for at least a year.
Oh, I'm all in with that, but. They have, before Christmas, they were all praying. It's like, give us a great Christmas gift, Bob Mueller, Bob. And I found this to be, this was repeated many times incorrectly, which I thought was kind of fun. This is ABC's Jonathan Karl with his information on sources close to Mueller.
Well, look, I mean, the story in the New York Times was an extraordinary reflection of level of distrust between the FBI leadership and the president, and how suspicious the president's behavior was. That they actually were to the point of investigating
the letters about firing Comey, the interview with Lester Holt,
yes. and actually going to the point of investigating whether or not effectively the president was a Russian agent. But what I am getting is that this is all building up to the Mueller report and raising expectations of a bombshell report. And there have been expectations that have been building, of course, for over a year on this. But people who are closest to what Mueller has been doing, who have interacted with the special counsel, caution me that this report is almost certain to be anticlimactic. That if you look at what the FBI...
I'm pretty sure it's anticlimactic.
Oh, he said climatic.
And
climate change.
And a lot of people regurgitated climatic, but I looked it up. It is climactic.
No, it is climactic.
It is
It's anticlimactic.
Yes.
Not anticlimatic.
Because that's anti-climate.
Yeah, there's no climate anymore.
To be
floating off into space.
Climatic. That if you look at what the FBI was investigating in that New York Times report, look at what they were investigating, Mueller did not go anywhere with that investigation. He has been writing his report in real time through these indictments, and we have seen nothing from Mueller on the central question of, was there any coordination, collusion with the Russians in the effort to meddle in the elections? Or was there even any knowledge on the part of the president or anybody in his campaign?
There you go. So anticlimactic. Idiot. Never a correction. You'll hear it. People are so filled with climate change that this climatic just kind of pops out.
Yeah.
They don't even know it.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Even Stephanopoulos just sitting there like, huh? He didn't say anything wrong, did he? So that's the Mueller report. I have nothing else on the Mueller report. I agree with you, though. It'll just go on for years.
Oh, yeah, he's going to milk it as long as he can because it's free money. And he needs to do something for a living. And it gives him a lot of power. And people, there's Mueller. Oh,
and
Mueller.
he still has tons of other crimes to cover up.
Yeah, he can do some. Right,
some 9/11 crimes that need to be covered up and taken care of. Get some people out, extract them. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a good background. This is the NBC trying to bring us up to speed on everything from everything about Trump all in 109 minutes. The NBC lacing into Trump about everything.
I'm Kristen Welker at the White House, where the president was focused on that Capitol Hill hearing today, with the Russia investigation looming large over him. And it's likely Moscow is watching too, particularly after the New York Times reported today President Trump seriously considered pulling out of NATO last summer, a move that would have weakened the alliance aimed at deterring Russian aggression. NBC News reported at the time military leaders went into damage control mode to calm jittery allies. And during the summit, Mr. Trump was pressed about the possibility of withdrawal.
I think I probably can, but that's unnecessary. And the people have stepped up today like they've never stepped up before.
It also comes as Senate Democrats and some Republicans voted on a measure aimed at blocking the Treasury Department from easing sanctions on 3 Russian companies linked to a close Putin ally. Have you ever worked for Russia? Yes,
I never worked for Russia, and you know that answer better than anybody.
The president has also been defending himself this week against revelations. The FBI opened a counterintelligence investigation into him in 2017.
Bleh.
Now, a couple of things. One, I was always told that he would never deny saying he worked for Russia, but there was a denial on that tape.
Yeah.
And the other one was the whipsaw in there where she says he was thinking about pulling out of NATO, and then they throw to a clip where he never says that. He says he knows it's possible.
I can do it.
I can thinking about it.
Yep.
But they throw the clip in, making it sound as though that's what he's thinking.
Well done.
So that was chicken shit.
Should give her a little raise. Well done.
Yeah. You probably got a bonus cash.
Mm-hmm.
Here's $100 for you, sweetie.
A hundy.
A hundy. Have a hundy with a handshake. There it is. Puts it in her bra.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Dvorak.org if you don't like that.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So what else we have? I have another clip that's kind of another screwy clip. This is Democrats demanding of the Republicans.
Meanwhile, Democratic freshman members of the House marched to the Senate side of the Capitol this afternoon. They demanded that Republicans pass bills to reopen the government.
I demand it.
These are the new freshmen.
Oh, AOC
people from the
AOC
House
as well.
Going over to the Senate. Do they know how the system works at all?
Well, you got to hand it to them for trying some stuff out. That's not a big problem.
Apparently, AOC was dogging Mitch McConnell. Just following him around. Say, hey, get back to your own house.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do you know any other of the freshmen, all Democrats, I presume, who are over there?
I think there's a Republican. No, I mean there's the Muslim women that are all very vocal.
Yeah.
And AOC is about it. I only know about the those four.
Well, I think it was an email thread that you were on, and one of our producers said, the people that brought her to light, AOC, that is.
Oh yes, this is a good story. You should read it.
Yeah, it's well, I looked them up. It's the Justice Democrats.
Yeah,
and I looked at this outfit. They're at justicedemocrats.com. Now
we're talking about AOC.
Yeah, we're talking about AOC here. And they say right off the bat, our mission is to elect a new type of Democratic majority in Congress, one which will create a thriving economy and democracy that works for the people, not big money interests. And It's really the only. It is a political action campaign, and it's a federal PAC, so they limit how much you can donate to them. They only did about $2 million in. That's kind of what they have. I looked at the Form 990. So you can only donate up to $5,000, but it's clearly some form of group. I got to say, not a lot of familiar names in here. From people who are running the joint. The people who are familiar are all these new Democrats that got elected. So apparently this Justice Democrats is the outfit behind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I actually have a clip from when they were recruiting her. Hold on a sec. Yeah, so before she was known as AOC, this is the caption of this video. It's from Justice Democrats. Before Alexandria was known around the world as AOC, there was a movement that recruited her to run.
Izzy called at a very potent crossroads in my life.
Like, you hadn't thought about running for office or anything at that point, right?
No.
You just knew you got to do something.
I knew that I had to do something.
Yeah. We would try to call up folks that were, like, doing all kinds of amazing stuff, right? Every conversation would have a very awkward pitch at the end. Oh, it's so great. You're, like, saving lives. You're fixing stuff in your community. And so do you want to run for Congress, maybe?
We are not treating climate change as though the world is going to end in 10 years. It's great that everyone thinks these issues are important. We need to make them urgent. What is happening in the halls of Congress is deeply unrepresentative of what is happening in the streets of everyday life. Right now, with this administration, with the role of money in politics, we need to put ourselves on the line for this. It's all hands on deck for our democracy right now.
Yes! All hands on deck!
Please don't eat me, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I love it when you abuse your children.
Please don't eat me, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That is Violet. Violet is 8 years old. She belongs to
Violet.
She belongs to Carter. And she said, "Yeah, Dad, I'll do that for you, but only if I can do one about Alex Jones, too." Because apparently she hates Alex Jones when her dad is listening to him.
Please don't eat me, Alex Jones.
Yes.
Well, she's got a lot more into the Alex Jones clip.
That's what we need from her.
Please don't eat me, Alex
She's getting an Oscar for that one.
No Agenda Kitty Oscar.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we need a redo. We need the same, maybe just a little more energy.
It's sincere.
Well done though on the pronunciation of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Well, that's good for an 8-year-old.
That's very good. It's fantastic. Anyway, so this Justice Democrats.
Well, now the guy who went through the email that put us on his notes, he said that that Chunk was part of this group.
Yes, the Young Turks. I can find no evidence of that in their in their documentation. What I do, see, we can look at their platform, which is completely AOC's platform: Green New Deal, living wage, federal jobs guarantee, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, block bad trade deals, end tax dodging and loopholes, end unnecessary wars, and nation building. Some of this I'm on board with, by the way. Medicare for all.
What do you mean?
Well, like stop unnecessary wars and block bad trade deals. Yeah, I'm in on that. There's nothing wrong with that. See,
why would you be bored then?
See, I what?
You said you're bored with it. Oh, you're on
board, not bored.
Oh, I said you're bored with it.
No, on board. Tuition-free public colleges and trade schools. Well, I'm okay with that. Defend and expand Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. It's too broad. Ensure paid vacation time, sick time, family leave, childcare, fight for racial justice, protect women's rights, combat homelessness, law enforcement reform, okay, and that common sense gun regulation, voting rights. There's a lot in here. I like these new Democrats because I think they're malleable.
I don't think so.
I mean, for the Green New Deal, the only thing that the AOC Dems have to be convinced of is that, and it's not that hard actually, the true solution is nuclear energy. And do you know why everyone's been made so afraid of nuclear energy? It's because of those people you hate. The big oil people have been creating anti-nuke propaganda for decades.
Now I know what you mean by malleable.
Yes, decades.
You think that you can use that logic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
To persuade them and change their minds.
Yes, and I'm calling it because I'm feeling it and I'm seeing it. There is a convo happening. Let's see if the...
Convo.
I got to talk in their language, man, in case someone clips
man,
this.
Cool. Yeah, I dig it.
So we got to change the regs. So let's have a convo about that. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing people looking at this. Well, this really is a solution. And I think, yes, I think that they may be open to some logic. I will try and present it to Alexandria when she visits Austin as a keynote speaker at South by Southwest in March.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that great?
So
she is a superstar.
Let's deconstruct your own logic.
All right.
I'm going to go with the logic and assume that the logic is actually true. So what you're saying, you can fight the giant oil companies all by yourself.
Me?
And maybe one or two of these stooges. It's not going to happen.
No, wait, stop. I get to respond. Order! No. But we could get it started. And it's exactly a person like AOC who could at least break through for this one misinformation piece about nuclear.
I will counter the argument.
You don't even let me finish my argument. But okay.
I know we'll finish.
No, I yield.
She is going to be shouted down if she even tries. Shouted down by the same dipshits that, are all in on this
which
one.
would be great for the show. So...
Well, for the show, yeah.
Well, isn't everything ultimately about the show? Let's be honest.
Well, I would think so.
And I think that Pelosi has put her on the financial committee under
financial services.
Yeah, under Auntie Maxine. So I guess Maxine got the talk.
Old Nancy really has a clue. As old and daughtery as she is, I got a great idea. Let's put these two together and see what happens.
I'm sure they'll get along fabulously.
She's one of those. There's a number of Bill Ziff, who was a billionaire publisher of Ziff Davis and during his heyday before he died. He was one of these guys. And and every once in a while somebody told me they deconstructed his executive moves and told me about this. And the guy who did that was accurate about pretty much everything. Ziff would like to say, I think these two guys hate each other. I'll make him assistant publisher to the other guy. And let's see what happens. And the way it was described to me is that you get these people that at the billionaire level where they really don't need any money. They don't even care if they burn down their own house.
Just fun to mess with people.
They just like to, hey, let's see what happens if we put these two guys together. So that's what Nancy's doing.
It's a great idea.
It is.
Well, AOC is definitely here to stay for a while, and I'm enjoying her. I'm enjoying her very much. And maybe we can get some. Maybe we can at least get some new focus for nuclear. Maybe.
Well, that would, if you could pull that off, I'd give you a kudos.
If I can pull it off.
It's not. Yeah, you're the one who says you're going to go talk to her.
Oh, that was just using that as a bridge to
change it.
No, I'm not going to actually go up to her. Hey, excuse me, I'm from the No Agenda Show podcast. Can I ask you a question? No, I'm not going to do that. But I'm telling you, this will be a topic of conversation. Let's see if she's really pure, then she will at least want to look into it.
She won't. She won't do it. Okay. She's already brainwashed.
All right. All righty. Okay. That ends that.
Now, you can stick with your guns on this. I mean, I think the idea is sound and the logic is good, but I'm just saying I don't think these people they're not that bright.
Yes, we know your stance on her. I'm giving her a little more benefit of the doubt.
So we had the Brexit fail.
We had breakfast.
We had breakfast.
We had the breakfast. Actually, the truth wants to come out. On Tuesday, this was the BBC headline news.
Senior European Union officials have published a letter with further reassurances about the draft Brexit deal that will be put before Britain's Parliament on Tuesday in a crucial vote. The withdrawal deal is facing defeat by MPs.
The withdrawal defeat. Okay. All right, BBC. A little too early on the script. We're getting there. Yeah,
I have a bunch of
let's just discuss it for a moment. This was really quite interesting. And what did you watch to follow it?
What did I watch?
Yeah, were you watching it live? I was following this live on Sky News on Pluto.
Oh, I was following it live on C-SPAN, which was the BBC feed.
Okay, so I had Sky, which was kind of fun, and you had BBC. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, and C-SPAN had really good coverage of this thing.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Let's start with the vote, which was overwhelmingly rejecting May's horrible proposal. This is Brexit, the noes have it, the vote.
Order. And wait for the audible gasp.
Ayes to the right, 202. The noes to the left, 432.
Eyes to the right, 202.
I love that.
Apparently, the BBC guys had give all these little details about, for example, the ones on the left are the one they move them to left to right.
Oh, yes.
The eyes on the right. The right is the loser.
Yes.
The left is the winner.
Ah, yes.
So the left is always the higher vote. So you read the right first, then the left.
Ah.
And then now, a couple of other things. I didn't know how for one thing, there's only 400 and some seats in the Parliament, in the House of Commons.
Yeah.
And there's over 650, about 600 members, 650 members.
Yes.
So where did the rest of them go?
Yeah, the math looked a little off to me too. I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, they explained it. The BBC they had some expert that's explaining every little thing, and they just don't have a place to sit. That's it. So when they have a big event where everybody wants to come and watch, they just pack the aisles. They sit on the floor. They're all over the place.
Huh.
I didn't know that because half the time it's empty anyway, so you wouldn't expect it.
Seems kind of disorderly.
Very disorderly. But when you hear, for example, I have just a sound bite. This is the ISO. This is where you have a yes and a no vote, where you do all in favor say aye, all opposed say no.
Mm-hmm.
This is the no vote in one of these.
Oh, for one of the amendments?
Yeah, for one of the amendments. This is the noes have it voice vote ISO.
No! I think the noes have it.
Hey, how about some electronic voting over there?
And so they're working on it. We were told that too. Now, the no's thing, people don't just yell no. They yell no, no, no.
Yeah. That sounds like you're double voting. It doesn't sound right. It's just wrong, man. No. It's 3 votes. You can't vote 3 times.
Yeah. And then, so I have one clip. Well, anyway, these are just incidental clips. Let's play the one where this is the next day when they're just rioting before they took the no confidence vote, which she won.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, everyone's rioting her for being the biggest loss in the history
ever. Loser, capital L, loser.
Yeah, so here's the note. This is the UK fends off Corbyn on Wednesday. It's kind of fun.
More taxes, more spending, fewer jobs.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. May I start by correcting the record? Last night, I suggested this was the largest government defeat since the 1920s. I would not wish to be accused of misleading the House, because I've since been informed that is, in fact, the largest ever defeat for a government in the history of our democracy. So, Mr. Speaker, Shortly after the Prime Minister made her point of order last night, her spokesperson suggested the government had ruled out any form of customs union with the European Union as part of her reaching out exercise. Can the Prime Minister confirm that's the case?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that the exercise that I indicated last night is, as I said, about listening to the views of the House, about wanting to understand the views of parliamentarians, so that we can identify what could command the support of this House and deliver on the referendum. And what the government wants to do is, first of all, to ensure that we deliver on the result of the referendum. That's leaving the European Union. And we want to do it in a way that ensures we respect the votes of those who voted to leave in that referendum. That means ending free movement. It means getting a fairer deal for farmers and fishermen. It means opening up new opportunities to trade with the rest of the world. And it means keeping good ties with our neighbours in Europe.
Jeremy Corbyn. Mr. Speaker, my question was about the customs union. The Prime Minister seems to be in denial about that, just as much as she's in denial about the decision made by the House last night.
Just to break it up for a second. From what I understand, if there is a no-deal Brexit, and it's not like they're going to send, the repo man or something.
I know.
You owe us money. Then I believe there's a default trade deal, which is what they call the WTO rules.
Yeah, they go to the WTO rules.
Which they have with other countries already. WTO
rules. That's what we
do.
We're WTO.
Yeah, they're well established. So there is something in place. It may not be optimal or ideal, but it's not like there's nothing. And there's established infrastructure. This is another thing I keep hearing. The technology alone, what we'll have to do to change if we have different customs agreements with the forms. Oh, it's going to be horrible. Sounds like a money bonanza to me, but okay. So yeah, WTO rules. So there is a way to deal with that.
I understand the business secretary told business leaders on a conference call last night, we can't have no deal for all the reasons you've set out. Can the Prime Minister now reassure the House, businesses and the country and confirm that is indeed the government's position, that we can't have no deal?
We can't have no deal? Is that grammatically correct?
Can't.
I don't think so.
I think the point of the business sector...
No, it's fine, because no deal stands alone is kind of a phrase.
Then it would say we can't have a no deal. That doesn't matter.
He was making that he has...
Right. Good point, yeah.
It's not that important.
...made previously is that if you don't want to have no deal, you have to ensure that you have a deal. Now, I will give this to...
Wait a minute. If you... This is great. This is newspeak. If you don't have no deal, you got to make sure you got a deal. What?
As made previously is that if you don't want to have no deal, you have to ensure that you have a deal. Now,
if you don't want to have no deal, you got to ensure that you got a deal. Get it? Got it? Good.
I will give this to...
Howie Mandel should come in, do a deal or no deal.
I will say this to the right honourable gentleman. There are actually two ways of avoiding no deal. The first is to agree a deal, and the second would be to revoke Article 50. Now, that would mean staying in the European Union, failing to respect the result of the referendum, and that is something that this government will not do.
Oh, please, Teresa. We all know it's headed toward that. We've been predicting this for how many years? 3?
Since the beginning.
It's almost 3 now.
Since the vote
here is
2 years ago.
And the reason
coming on 3.
And this is easy to predict because this is how the European Union and the New World Order, the liberal world order, does its business. We don't like your decision, so we're just going to have a do-over. They did it with the Lisbon Treaty, with the Netherlands, with France, with Ireland. Do-overs, vote again, shut up, all good. But we know where it's headed. Here's Nigel Farage.
The law is very clear. 500 MPs voted to trigger Article 50, which said we leave with a withdrawal agreement, or failing that, we leave on March the 29th. That was backed up, of course, by an Act of Parliament. So logically, legally, what should happen is we should leave on WTO terms. So there is some faint hope, I suppose, for Brexiteers. The reality, of course, is that our political class in Westminster, aided and abetted by their friends here in Brussels, Monsieur Barnier particularly, have been doing their best to overturn this result from day one. What do I expect to see? A stalemate, followed by an extension of Article 50. And you're right, there will be a push for a second referendum in Westminster, but not out in the country, where, interestingly, that YouGov poll yesterday showed only 8% of people have a second referendum as their first choice. So I think and I fear that we are headed on a path towards delay and probably, yes, a second vote.
There you go.
Well, they've packaged it a little differently, and I was hoping that he would have mentioned the new phraseology.
Well, I do have him in Parliament, European Parliament. I don't know.
Well, that's just slamming people there, but I'd love to hear that first before I play my two clips.
For the European...
Oops, here we go.
That 500 MPs voted for Article 50, which, of course, makes very clear that there are 2 years in which to negotiate a withdrawal agreement or we just leave. And that was backed up, of course, by the Act of Parliament, the Withdrawal Act, which once again says, unconditionally, we leave on the 29th of March. Now, Mr. President, you say there's no support for no deal, but then you all thought there was no support for Brexit in the first place. You might be surprised how quickly public opinion is changing. Mr. Timmermans, you say this would cause great harm. But if we leave on no deal, if we stick to the law as it is, we become an independent country. And I would say to you, what price? Freedom.
Yeah.
But I'll be the first to admit, I doubt this will happen. Because working in cahoots with you, we have Mr. Blair and many other leaders of the British establishment who treat the Brexit vote and treat voters in general with total and utter contempt. And there is a great tradition here, isn't there? We've seen it with Denmark and with Ireland. You make people vote again. All I can say is if we finish up with an extension of Article 50, we may well finish up fighting the next set of European elections, and we will fight them. And if the betrayal becomes complete and we are forced to vote in a second referendum, you may be in for a big surprise. The British may be a very placid people, very laid back. But I promise you, if they get pushed too far, it's a lion that will roar. We will be even more defiant if we have to fight a second referendum, and we'll win it by a bigger majority.
A smattering of applause. Yeah. All right, so those
are he's describing the British that have seemed to have all perished after World War II from old age. The modern Brits, if you listen to these guys on the street, it's none of these guys. No, they don't have any spunk.
Oh, okay.
And they like the word. Now, the thing that's being overlooked here is that they've decided the smart money on the side of the Remainers have just kind of redefined things. They don't want a new referendum. They don't want a new referendum. They want a people's vote.
Oh, yeah, that's the packaging. Oh, okay.
And the Scots, of course, are the ones behind it the most, because the Scots, who are probably completely oblivious to the fact that they'd be exploited to death because they have all the oil, which should be kept in the UK, but the EU would love to get a hold of it. The Scots are behind us. They're a bunch of I think it's just a traitorous bunch. I don't even know why they're in the UK or why the British tolerate them. But you can hear it's the Scottish independent guys and all the rest in Parliament.
Yeah, he got a lot of floor time. He got a lot of floor time. This guy.
Well, this is the guy. Well, this is one. There's Angus is no longer there, and the original Angus, and he's the guy. He was the best of this group. But I got Brexit Scots bring up people's vote 1.
Motion.
Oh. It doesn't say one, but that's the...
You scared me, yes.
Motion of no confidence. This should have happened before, but of course we will support it. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, it is clear the clock is ticking. The government needs to secure the safety of all our nations and should immediately postpone the Article 50 process. And should immediately have talks with all the leaders of the opposition parties. Let's work together in all our interests, but let's listen to the voices of the parliamentarians that have been sent here. There is no support for this deal. It mustn't come back again. The obvious thing to do, the right thing to do, suspend Article 50, put this to the people and a people's vote.
I know that. Is there people's vote. This may be something. Is this a different kind of deal than a referendum? Or is it exactly the same?
It's, from what I can tell, it's just a repackaging of the referendum. But the idea is that since Parliament screwed up the thing to begin with, that we should let the people decide. Let them vote. Should we even leave? And they're thinking there maybe should be 2 items on the ballot. One of them, which is a redo of the referendum, and the other one is some lame thing.
But these are the Remainers who want the people's vote, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Patrick Stewart is a member of this group.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. He looks like the type. He lives in the United States, makes his money here, and he doesn't care what happens in the UK. Brexit, Labour, and the People's Vote, too. There's a different member of Parliament.
Parliament can assert its authority to make sure that we can give the people of this country a say on this deal to resolve this matter. It is a mess that needs to be resolved by the people in a people's vote.
This is crazy. And are people just buying this? Oh, okay, that's not the same as a do-over. That's a people's vote. It's different.
Yeah, that's what the scheme is.
Huh. Good catch.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they're going to get away with it. Maybe people...
well, so far they're not getting away with it, but it's a move. It's a movement. It's a movement, and it's getting traction. And I'm hearing it more and more. People's vote. I
like the term. If you ask Gerard Batten, the current leader of the UK Independent Party, that won't happen.
For the Europe of Nations and Freedom Group, the floor now goes to Mr. Batten.
Mr. President, we've seen 2.5 years of an elaborate political charade. Based on an entirely false premise, which is that you can't leave the European Union without a deal. There never was going to be a deal. There never is going to be a deal. We've seen Mrs May and her emissaries go back and forward to Brussels in order to reach a withdrawal agreement that nobody wants. The Remainers don't want it because they don't want to leave. The Leavers don't want it because under it we don't really leave. And what is the purpose of it all, which has now been extended? It is to wear the British people down to the extent where they accept defeat and surrender, and the result of the referendum is overturned. Well, not for the first time, I found myself agreeing with something that Mr Verhofstadt said. He said, how to break the deadlock. In the British Parliament, we need a majority in favour of something. Absolutely right, Mr Verhofstadt. And in 3 days, Mrs May has to come up with a plan B. Well, the good news is there is a plan B, which should have been plan A in the first place, which is to repeal the 1972 European Communities Act, leave the European Union under our law, and then to tell you how we're going to repeal and amend 45 years and tens of thousands of bits of legislation under our priorities and in our timescales. Now, Mrs May should immediately resign and hand over to somebody who can become Prime Minister who actually really does want to leave the European Union. And Parliament, the British Parliament, has the opportunity to redeem itself. If it betrays the result of the referendum, then it will destroy what remaining belief or faith there is in our democratic system, which isn't very high to start with. But they can turn things around if they want to. They can take the initiative. They can stop asking you how we can leave, and they can start telling you how we're going to leave. And I can tell you that the British people will never surrender.
Woohoo! That guy could do...
This is Churchill.
It is. He pulled the Churchill. He sounds like. What does he sound like? Who's the actor?
I was picking up on something too.
Shoot, the Michael Caine. That's what he sounds like. Michael Caine.
A little bit.
Yeah,
democratic system, which isn't very high.
Oh yes, yeah.
So if he just drawled it out a bit longer, he would be a shoo-in for Michael Caine.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting, and maybe this is why the NATO thing has come up again. And I went back and looked. I could not find a single conversation, discussion, argument, or rule, or anything even in the terms of Brexit that are public that concerns the military. I've seen no debates about military. And we have this European Union, military union that's kind of popping up. And how do we do our single point procurement?
Yeah.
There's something that it's not being discussed, and I think that
for a reason,
and maybe that's why Trump is messing around with NATO. Because the NATO, EU, I mean, that's almost synonymous.
Yeah, but we're pretty much in control of it.
Sure we are. That's why everyone's freaked out. Oh, wait a minute. We'll be an island with no guns. We'll just have some Skripal. That's all we got. What are we going to defend ourselves with?
Guns, man.
We want guns, baby. We want some, chemical warfare stuff. No one talks about it.
No, it might be something worth bringing up if you had anyone to bring it up with besides me.
No, we're just blowing in the wind, my friend.
This whole thing, I do have a couple other side clips. I think we've got to the gist of it, which is that this is a problem they got to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why any British person would want to be a member of the EU because they're being pushed around. It's like you might as well just. This is like Germany's third attempt to take over all of Europe.
Yes. Hello.
Only this time they got a clue. They know how to do it now.
Yeah. No bloodshed.
Yeah, but
it is just a construct for Britain to believe that they actually have to pay something and have all these agreements to leave. Where they can just say, "Screw it, we just don't want to do it anymore. We're out.
We quit."
Yeah. Well, and I love how they make fun of us. Yeah, we got our problems, but not like that.
No, they. Yeah, that's true. That's really a problem.
Yeah,
their whole existence is up for grabs. Now let's listen. I just want to have one. I have one because I took an ISO out of this clip because this guy Burkow, the guy who's the Speaker of the House, who's got that. He's just a
order. Yeah,
order. He goes on to some woman that came.
By the way, if I can just interject, he could be the Judge Judy of the UK.
He would make nothing but money.
just raking it in.
Millions of dollars with a syndicated show.
Raking it in. Just a thought. Yeah.
Now, apparently some woman came, and this is the clip, by the way, I'm setting up, is Brexit, the pregnant lady.
Mm-hmm.
This woman comes in and she's pregnant and they were going to induce labor. All these things were bad. She has gestational diabetes. She's about to drop dead, but they wouldn't let her bring a proxy in to vote. By the way the vote went, you'd think they would have more, ears to the ground to know that the vote was going to go this way, that they have to drag this woman in to vote because she voted no. And so they brought her in, and she's in a wheelchair. It was just pathetic. And she's sitting there pregnant, and they have to rush her back to the hospital where she came from. And so they became a little discussion about this.
Is she with the Labour Party?
There's a little discussion about this, and Burkow gets very involved with it, and he berates everybody. But in the middle of this, which I have an ISO of who plays second, he turns to some guy who is just giving him just said something, and he turns to the guy and rips him in such a fast and interesting way that I thought it was fascinating. But let's listen to the whole clip.
And her baby at risk because we cannot have a method of allowing those who are sick or pregnant is disgraceful.
Well, I note what the Honourable Lady says, and I don't cavil at it at all. I made the point yesterday. I thought the situation was lamentable. I used that word, I think, several times. The situation was lamentable. This matter, I'm not interested in people chuntering from a sedentary position to no obvious benefit or purpose. I'm ruling on the matter, and I require no assistance in the process of doing so. The situation was lamentable. I thought it better that the Honourable Lady should have the opportunity of a proxy vote. That was my view, and it was a view widely shared. The matter was debated in February of last year and in September. I had indicated my strong support. It would have been necessary for a resolution to be tabled by the Leader of the House for reasons which others can explain. It's not my job to do their explaining for them. That has not happened. I think it's regrettable, but it cannot be sorted tonight.
Wait a minute. They've been discussing this proxy vote in this case since February?
No, in general.
Oh, okay.
Because it's come up before.
Oh, okay. So let me just understand. Let me just understand what is lamentable.
Lamentable.
What exactly is the deal? You have to be able to come in unassisted. That's the only. If you are not able-bodied.
You have to be physically present.
Okay, got it.
And I also learned something from the BBC I didn't know, is that when they make their votes, you know how they vote?
No.
It's off camera.
Yes.
There are two halls, the yes hall and the no hall. And you walk out of, that's why they all leave. They all leave.
They go through the yes or the no door.
And they go into the yes and no door. And one of the clerks or clerks is there to count them. And then they come back.
I love tradition.
It's an old, long tradition.
And of course, the joke is they go through those doors and then they're hugging each other in the same room right behind the doors. It's like
orgy.
Yes, orgy.
So he, in the middle of that, he ripped into this guy who said something to him. And I've never heard this guy talk so fast and make such a very interesting point, even though I think he mumbled a little bit because I couldn't fully understand what he said when he turned to this guy and ripped off this following phrase, which is this clip is speaker ripping heckler.
Order. I'm not interested in people chuntering from a sedentary position to no obvious benefit or purpose. I'm ruling on the matter and I require no assistance in the process of doing so.
You like that, huh?
I do. I did like that.
You like that's what you'd like to say to your kids. You will just roll that out.
Just so fast they don't even know what you said.
Like what the hell? Let me try it again.
Order. I'm not interested.
Hey, you child, order.
In people chuntering from a sedentary position to no obvious benefit or purpose. I'm ruling on the matter and I require no assistance in the process of doing so.
Earl Grey, hot. Yeah, exactly.
I like the way he comes to he slows it down. He rips. And then he slows it down to half speed, to normal speed.
Talented.
Then he goes to slow speed.
The guy's talented. He's got talent.
He is talented.
It's nothing you just can't argue it. The guy has talent.
He's a Remainer.
Yes. Hey, the Yellow Jackets. We'll just move over a little bit across the pond there. Now it's 10 weekends we've had. Violence continues. Although I think this is fun to talk about, there's this continuous, we're going to do a bank run. The Yellow Vests are going to do a bank run. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Maybe in the days of Jimmy Stewart, a bank run was real. But, a bank run, seriously? You're going to get your 200 euros out of your ATM? I mean, I don't see how a bank run could bring down globalism, and certainly France. But one of our producers did send me a link to the revolutions of 1848, also known as the Spring of Nations, the People's Spring, Springtime of the Peoples, the Year of Revolution, was when there were numerous political upheavals in Europe in 1848. And, you being Mr. Cycles, maybe you could... It
was a revolutionary cycle. It was all over the world. There were these little
big
revolutions.
Yeah, it was really huge, but also a lot of the
trend.
But a lot of the factors around that time sound familiar. Some of the major contributing factors were widespread dissatisfaction with political leadership, demands for more participation in government and democracy, demands for freedom of the press, demands made by working class, the upsurge of nationalism, regrouping of established government forces, middle classes and workers tried to form coalitions. Of course, tens of thousands of people were killed. Yay! And serfdom, I think, emerged from this time. But for a while there, they did have it. They did. This is when Karl Marx and these guys started to rise up around this time. Which we have our new version of socialism. Am I taking it too far in the revolutionary cycle?
I don't know.
Okay,
maybe you are, maybe you aren't.
Thanks.
I think it's, things, they do cycle, and the French are pretty much in the middle of the cycle. So, I don't know.
I think at the beginning...
It's not one of the cycles. I just tend to follow financial cycles, not so much.
But there's the beginning of this cycle. I think it's just beginning.
Oh, maybe.
Well,
maybe.
Historically, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, well, historically, the French are a force to be reckoned with, and they're not letting up. And what did Macron say? He said, oh, yes, he came out and blasted the French, saying, oh, you want things without proper effort. You want to get stuff for free. Yeah. Hello. That's exactly what the deal is. Shouldn't he be saying, okay, this is what we've always wanted. We want this new world order. Give everybody a living wage. Here you go. Shut up. Stay home. Don't do anything. Isn't it time you just say, here you go?
Well, that time's a-coming.
It is. That's why I'm saying maybe this is the moment.
Well, maybe. I don't know. This is not something I have not figured out.
Okay.
I think it may be just, I don't know. I just have no clue. No clue.
It's okay. It's okay. I was just throwing, I have no clue either. But if you read through it, it's in the show notes, nashownotes.com. Take a look at the revolutions of 1848. Before we take a break here, 2 little quick promos. We have 2 meetups on the horizon, February 22nd in Des Moines, Iowa. Happy to report we already have 25 people signed up. So this is good. Ooh. Yeah. And then we have the big Texas meetup on March 2nd, which I just found out also is Texas Independence Day. So it'd be a great day to be in Austin.
Yeah! We're having ourselves a meetup, Texas style. Saturday, March 2nd, Austin, Texas. No Agenda meetup, Austin, Texas, at the Austin Beer Works. Saturday, March 2nd, come pay respect to the Podfather and thank him for his courage. Come get jiggy with other like-minded producers. Remember, Saturday, March 2nd, Austin Beer Works and such.
Cyborg Dave.
You should buy some time on the radio.
Cyborg Dave, thank you, man.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
So you're getting too much sleep, or what's the deal?
Why?
That is the jingle for the second donation segment. The first one is thanking me for my courage.
Yeah, it's too much sleep. So maybe I should... Oh, we'll cut that out. No one will know the difference. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage to say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for... Clip it out, Dvorak.
Yeah. Well, in the morning to you, in the morning, all ships and sea boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the days and nights out there.
In the morning to the troll room, trolls with their polls in the room at noagendastream.com. Thank you very much for showing up and helping us with everything we need on the fly as we do the show live on Thursdays and Sundays. And in the morning to Martin J.J. back as our artiste du jour. He brought us outstanding artwork for episode 1103, Act 9, the title of it. And this was our favorite sad puppy looking at a bowl of worms thinking, oh no, I don't want to
make me eat these things.
I don't want to, which is a part of our...
I've already got worms. I'm a dog.
Part of our story of how we're going to save the world from climate change by feeding bugs to our dogs. It's a start, people. It's a start. You can't deny it's a start.
So this is the first time in 11 years that you have played that intro for the first segment.
No, second time.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Not too long ago.
You ruined my whole bit.
Yes, it's the first time ever.
No, it's okay.
I did it not too long ago.
Oh.
And I know why, too. I got excited. That's why. I was excited about the...
Yeah, you're hoping. You're wishing the show was further along. And I do, too, because we only have 3 associate executive producers. One will get bumped up to executive producer.
Yes, this is the rule.
We're finding ourselves back in our same old. But let's thank these guys, including Michael Shane in Louisville, Texas, who came in with $250, and he'll be the executive producer for show 1108 or 4.
Yes.
It's been far too long since I've donated, and I've reaped too much value, so I must give back. He needs a de-douching?
Okie dokie.
You've been de-douched.
I appreciate the twice weekly deconstruction. You make my commute tolerable. The mixture of analysis and humor and comfort on my way to the office and amplifies my joy on the way home. Hopefully I made the cutoff because the show 117 is my birthday.
Yay.
I'm turning 33. Adam, can you please play Secret Agent Paul's OTG jingle? And can I get a dose of Jobs Karma? Shit is hitting the fan, and any good tidings is appreciated. Are appreciated. Good thing I listened to the No Agenda show, for it provides helpful tips on how to CYA.
That's John's cover your ass.
Yeah, I worked in these businesses.
You are the CYA man. All right, Michael.
I'm the CYA expert.
Michael from Louisville, Texas. Hope to see you at the meetup on the 2nd of March, and as requested.
The best thing I ever did was getting off the grid.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Christopher Rutger, Roettger, in Metesti, Wyoming.
Metets?
I'm not sure.
Metets. I don't know. I've never heard of this place.
I've never heard of this place either. It's a one-horse town, let's put it that way. $202.02. First-time donator. No de-douching. I'd like to save it for later when needed. The 20202 is for you two making it through 2020. I hope that the show goes past that. And as any replacement I can imagine are likely to be insufferable millennials. Speaking as one, I can tell you that we haven't gotten old enough to outgrow the brainwashing and see through the charades. So for now, I'd like to request a de-douching for both you and Adam for the new year, and hopes it'll push the ideas exiting stage less. Off the
You've been de-douched.
Okay.
He writes in riddles. The value for value idea you guys run is my favorite. After being guilted by fellow listeners, I've decided I've gotten far more value out of the show and felt like I was stealing. Are you stealing? Donate to No Agenda. Not to mention the value added of John reading these words. As narrator of my note, John, please sound as sincere as possible saying this. Thank you both.
I think that's the read he wanted all the way through.
What?
He wanted that sincere read all the way through, but you don't. It's good.
You should put it at the beginning if you want that.
Yes.
That's what the drunk donators do.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's as sincere as I would sound anyway. So I want to thank you for the 20202. And then last but not least is Dennis Price in Pine Grove, California, $200. This is his annual donation to thank you both. You make it look easy, but we know it takes a lot of time and preparation for each show. Dennis in Pine Grove, California.
Thank you. Yes. To be honest, yeah, we do make it look easy. We do.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, we do between 30 and 50 clips a show.
Yeah, I know. I remember when we started, it was 4.
0. We started with zero
but
clips.
We didn't even get the clip idea.
But I'm just saying that the preparation, there's that preparation. And then, luckily we put it all together live on the fly. I cannot imagine piecing it together. Like, okay, we've recorded this great stuff. Now let's edit in the clips.
Oh, God. Jeez. Yeah. No, if we don't do the show is a singular thing that very few people could accomplish because it's just the guys who came closest, they did all post. The show is posted up. It took them 3 or 4 days to get the show out.
Yeah, that's a problem. Anyway. Thank you to our, now we have one executive producer, Michael Shane, who gets bumped up since he was the highest associate executive producer, and 2 associate execs. So Michael, Christopher, Dennis, thank you very much for supporting this. These are the very valuable credits that you can use anywhere. Credits are recognized. And unlike Hollywood, we like to highlight the producers because the producers make it look easy as well and are never thanked. Go ahead, look at all the award shows. You tell me how many producers are thanked. And we like to do it on screen, as it were, right up at the beginning. Dvorak.org/NA. You can support us for our next show, which will be on Sunday. And we will be thanking more people later on in our second segment who came in at $50 above. Again, for Sunday, it's
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think we've torn apart Brexit just enough for you to go out and propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Don't eat me, Alex Jones.
Shut
Well, I do have the clip of the day if you want me to play it now.
You have the clip of the day, where I certainly have the clip of the day, but yet you claim to have the clip of the day.
Okay, you play your clip of the day first.
No. We're playing your clip of the day first.
All right, so get the button ready.
Well, yeah, but you got to tell me what clip to play before I can hit any buttons.
Yeah, I'm going to set the clip up.
Okay.
This is the Berlin Station clip. Now, this is a show on Epix that I keep trying to get you to watch.
And I want to say, Tina and I watched the first episode of the first season, had never watched it before, found it very stressful. We were watching it like, this is pretty good. You like, yeah, it's pretty good. And they're like, this is stressful.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, your sensibilities were challenged.
It's a little stressful. Yeah.
It's a little less stressful as it goes along. The second season is less stressful. The third season is really interesting because they've set up this thing where the Russians are trying to take over Estonia. But it's not the Russians. It's one of the patriarchs or one of the oligarchs.
False flag.
It's all kinds of. It's just cool. It's very interesting, and so and I think it's a great show. People should watch. It's only, I think, 9 episodes or a year. It's not that big of a deal. But in this particular episode, they're checking in with Langley, and the woman that's out at Berlin Station is having a debriefing, and the guy is now concerned about some super spook who is now coming out of the woodwork from the olden days, and they're concerned about this. And here's how the dialogue goes.
What do you know about Gilbert Dorn?
Gilbert Dorn? Same as everyone. Legend put out to pasture. Saw and did it all during the Cold War. Cast a pretty long shadow at Berlin Station.
He never left. Retired in Berlin.
Did not know that. Let me guess. He's writing a book.
Worse. Podcast.
Clip of the day.
That's right. The lowest pole of spycraft. You cannot get any lower on the ladder than being an ex-spook podcaster. It's the worst. Congratulations. I feel proud. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Worst.
That had clip of the day written all over it from my perspective.
It did. Well, you've probably heard my clip of the day, but I'm always bringing these things along just in case. This was a radio show, and the radio show is David Webb's radio show. He's a Fox News contributor, and he had CNN analyst Areva Martin on his show calling in, and this is what happened.
Shouldn't their primary requirement, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of network, be that they are capable of covering politics? For instance, if you're going to cover political campaigns, sports may not be the most qualified background, and that brings to the point of if people want to get into these fields regardless of color. I've chosen to cross different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
Well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege. This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get into.
Areva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Ruh-roh. Did you hear this exchange?
Yeah.
I think it's
a classic.
I'm going to play the rest of it. It's so beautiful.
Okay, then I stand.
See, you went to white privilege. This is the falsehood in this. You went immediately with an assumption. Your people, obviously, or you didn't look. You're talking to a black man who started out in rock radio in Boston, who crossed the paths into hip-hop, rebuilding one of the greatest black stations in America, and went on to work for Fox News, where I'm told apparently blacks aren't supposed to work, but yet you come with this assumption and you go to white privilege. That's actually insulting.
It is, and I apologize because my people gave me wrong information. They told me
the whole white privilege thing is insulting.
David, can I apologize and correct the record? I want to apologize. I was given wrong information about you, and I apologize.
But based on my
But
color, you were going to something that I was part of. And just to add to it, my family background is white, black, Indian, Arawak, Irish, Scottish. I mean, it's so diverse. I'm like the UN when it comes to this. And this is part of the problem with driving a narrative around a construct like white privilege. Privilege is one thing where applied wealth, economy, various social factors, but not necessarily determined by color of skin.
See, I think this is such a beautiful example of exactly what is wrong today in this social justice warrior movement and white privilege. And I mean, literally, she was calling the guy out for having white privilege for something he said, which meant that he could only have had white privilege. But then when it turns out he's black, then she actually apologized, said, well, of course you don't have that. I mean, this makes your head spin as to, well, the fact that this has not gotten a lot of, I mean, it's online. We got some social media virality.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of attention.
Just a little bit. But really, I wanted to take this one step further and talk about brown privilege, because I think I can point to that as well. Not black, brown. And this comes in the form of, so you have all these 2020 hopefuls, all the hopefuls, and they're all doing cool stuff like AOC, hey, we're going to go on Instagram. We got Elizabeth Warren going on Instagram. We got Beto at the dentist on Instagram, and everyone's, doing cool little stuff. And then Kamala Harris. Now, this is not exactly the same, and part of it's a joke for the Stephen Colbert show. It's like, okay, I'm going to do a little Instagram thing, which she couldn't actually do a real Instagram. But I want you to, so she was going to do this is my, her mix, her mood mix. I'm Kamala Harris. Here's my mood mix. Now, what do you know about Kamala Harris?
Well, she was a DA in California, very poor one, by the way. How
about her background?
She's like Hawaiian. She's got some weird mix of races.
Yeah, she's not just a mix. No. She was raised in Canada. She was born in Oakland in 1964.
Oh, right. She's a Canadian. Yes.
She's not a Canadian. She was raised in Canada. But her parents, her dad is from Jamaica. Her mom is a Tamil Indian. She is not African American. Yet somehow, brown color skin gives her the privilege to appropriate black culture.
I see where you're going.
Hey, It's Kamala Harris, and this is my mood mix. A song that has always made me dance.
And it's not about the song, it's about how she speaks.
Check the rhyme, A Tribe Called Quest. I'm talking about Fife.
Yeah, I know I'm talking about, yeah.
A song from my favorite movie, Purple Rain by Prince, and Shallow by Lady Gaga.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's supposed to be my favorite song at a cookout, but you don't play just one song at a cookout. You play a lot of songs.
Now, she sounds like any Beyonce fan right now. And I just want to say, it's not appropriate. If we're going to talk about white privilege and appropriation and brown privilege, just because you have brown skin doesn't mean you can act like you're an African American. I can make this argument.
Yeah. Well, you're making the argument now.
Yeah, I'm done. That was my argument.
Yeah, no, she's a phony.
It's a big phony. And it just goes on and on and on with this mood
people
mix.
Keep saying, well, she could be, high-end lib Joes.
Yeah.
Not the twosome, but some other ones I
Ooh,
know.
your guys are low rent? There's high-end lib Joes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, they are low rent compared to high-end lib Joes.
Okay.
We're talking about the Silicon Valley billionaire class. Which is high-end. They all think that Kamala or Kamala, I always thought it was pronounced.
No, she said Kamala.
Okay, well, it's Kamala. But she as a candidate for president, she's like a kid, and she's a dummy. She's not as dumb as AOC, I will say that.
You like calling people dumb.
No, I don't. I really don't like calling people dumb. I feel bad about it.
No.
But I have to let's say what it is. I mean, if somebody's dumb like AOC, what else can I describe it?
Yeah.
Maybe ignorant. She's ignorant. Hey, I don't like the word ignorant. Okay, so I had this one clip. I think was we both watched the Golden Globes.
Yes.
Now the guy who's nominated for pretty much everything for Best Actor is they played Cheney. What's his name? The
Batman guy.
Yeah, Batman guy. Batman guy.
Batman played Cheney.
So Batman plays Cheney. So he's British, and he's a very good actor because he played an excellent Cheney. If you've seen the movie,
No,
I didn't think much of the movie. I found the movie to be very. I didn't like the movie.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale. So we didn't play his acceptance speech. I don't believe.
No.
Well, here it is. Best of Golden Globes. Best.
Oh, here it is. I see. Yeah, got it.
I think Mitch McConnell next. That could be good, couldn't it? Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
Yeah. How to play Dick Cheney. Yes. Oh, perfect.
Everybody got bent out of shape about that.
Oh, really? I thought it was funny. I think it's funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, because someone didn't thank God.
He thanks Satan.
What's your take? Well, actually, I have a take, but what's your take on this Gillette ad?
I didn't think much of it. I thought it was insulting to normal men.
Yeah. My immediate reaction, just seeing, you have to see it. If you listen to it, it doesn't quite work. I also was like, really? I spend, how much? It's so expensive, their product. I went straight away to see if I could short the stock, but they're part of Procter and Gamble. Like, they got some winners in there.
You
don't want to
get any traction. It's actually surprising that they did something like this because Procter and Gamble is notorious for being one of the greatest marketing companies in the history of the United States.
Well, I think
they got a lot of attention, but
I think it worked for them. I think it does work for them. No, I think it does. I think it works for them. I think they got the attention they wanted. It was interesting. One of our producers sent the tags that they put on the video, which are invisible unless you know how to look for it.
Not that hard.
No, but they're not surfaced. But I'll read some of these tags in general, these are search terms they want people to find this video. Anti-harassment, stop harassment, anti-bullying, stop bullying, modern masculinity, crisis of masculinity, manhood, masculinity, Me Too movement, empowerment, campaign, diversity, empower, commercial, inspiration, Gillette commercial, and Me Too. They were really going all out for this one.
Yeah, well, they went all out.
I think it'll help them.
I really don't. I mean, there's the old. You're going by the thesis that any publicity is good publicity, which is a common thing you can. And I think it applies mostly, and it might apply here, but generally speaking, I think it's just created just a little nagging ill will.
Well, the problem is,
especially with men who are just feel that they were insulted by a product, by companies whose product there's alternatives to, especially in the middle of this moment where you have all these cheap alternatives coming out of the woodwork from every which way. And it's like, this is not the time to do this.
What I'm more interested in, because they have more marketing than just this. I mean, people were already sending around pictures of the Dutch Gillette promotion team. Who were
the girls with Gillette tattooed on their ass?
No, the really tight, like kind of dominatrix outfits with Gillette across their
blue
butt.
Outfits of latex, they're tight fitting. The girls are well shaped.
Dude, this is the mistake they're making. Is they've got a worldwide
and then they put
brand.
Gillette on their butts.
Yeah,
and so this is like, how does this work with the other ad? I mean, are you trying to like? Is this? That's even. I think that's even more insulting.
This is the short thinking. This is the mistake. This is the mistake. Should not have let that happen. But it's happening. This brand's doing all kinds of weird things. I mean, I'm not a comic book guy at all, but I do know that Shade, the mutant drag queen superhero, might be an issue.
Well, now I'm I'm not going to say that I'm less or more of a comic book fan than you are because I have collected a few copies of different things. Not that I have a comic book collection per se. I have like 3.
You are way ahead of me just saying
I
that.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, so apparently Marvel Comics they have Iceman is one of their comics, and in edition 4, there's a new drag queen superhero named Shade. And she has, I guess she has some superpowers. But, it's like a mutant drag queen is now a superhero in the Marvel lineup.
Okay.
Yeah. And the world is changing around us.
See how that comes around in the next movie.
RuPaul is a shoo-in. Good to go. Superhero. RuPaul is a superhero. Who would have known? Who would have thunk? It can happen.
Yeah, there must be some trade association for drag queens because they're promoting drag queenery with little kids and the single moms who dress their boys up in dresses and these other things. It's
this
kind
odd,
of disturbing, if you ask me.
It's this odd transitionary phase where the idea is you can transition, you can change to be whatever you identify with or how you feel. So male to female, female to male. But then there's this interim stage where you're just fabulous. and you have to celebrate that for a while. For a while. It to me, it seems like, I thought you wanted to be a woman, but now there seems to be this in between.
No, you just want to be fabulous.
I think there's some of that too. Just in between, just be fabulous for a little while before the full transition. Fine by me. And some of them are quite fabulous. Yeah. Now, this, just to touch another third rail, this Steve King.
The Steve King thing is getting more interesting by the minute. I think I had a clip last show.
I have a quick clip just because it's all these things. Apparently, what he said, he's been such a racist.
We went over it with the exact quotes, and we read from the thing, and it's not.
Well,
they're targeting him for some other reason. Now, before you go on with this, I did get a note from because I'm still baffled by it. He is the guy behind the Birth Begins at Conception bill.
So he has to go.
One of our producers says this might be the reason they're targeting him because this is a nasty bill if it got through. But this kind of thing doesn't get voted through.
So he has to go. Well, just looking at so the New York Times did a rundown of all the things he said, and I completely understand how you can have a certain mindset, an idea about someone or who they are. And isn't he like a tractor driver? He's from Iowa. He wasn't like basically
he's from Ohio, isn't he?
I thought he was from Iowa. I could be wrong. Is he from Ohio? No, he's Iowa. He's from Iowa. Yeah, he's from Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a farm guy. He's like a farm guy. So I can understand where if you already have in your mind, well, he's clearly a racist, white nationalist.
He's from Iowa. He's got to be even more than Ohio for sure.
So let's just look. In 2002, he filed a bill requiring schools teach that the United States is, quote, the unchallenged greatest nation in the world and has derived its strength from Christianity, free enterprise, capitalism, and Western civilization.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, to look at anything from 2002 in a 2019 lens is complicated. But this doesn't necessarily show racism, these types of comments.
No.
In 2005, he introduced the English Language Unity Act, a bill to make English the official. I can't even speak English. To make English the official language. Racist. He sued the Iowa Secretary of State for posting voting information on an official website in Spanish, Laotian, Bosnian, and Vietnamese. So these are all racist things. And I can totally I understand how people who are looking for, if all you are is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I get it. I really do. But then to say this is also completely racist from 2013.
And there doesn't mean that there aren't groups of people in this country that that I have sympathy for. I do, and there are kids that were brought into this country by their parents unknowing that they were breaking the law. And they will say to me and others who defend the rule of law, we have to do something about the 11 million. And some of them are valedictorians. Well, my answer to that is, and then by the way, their parents brought them in. It wasn't their fault. It's true in some cases, but they aren't all valedictorians. They weren't all brought in by their parents. For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
Now, this is somehow racist. Is there a misunderstanding? Maybe I'm misinterpreting what he's saying. What I understand him say is either there's people who have so many drugs strapped to them that their calves look like cantaloupes and they just got all this dope strapped to their body. Or two, they carry so much drugs that their calves have blown up to the size of cantaloupes. I'm not quite sure which one it is.
Yeah, either one. Who cares?
How is this a real issue?
Well, they're out to get this guy. Now, you were reading, I realized, from the New York Times article, which is another thing. The New York Times is all in on this. Let's get Steve King.
I have a technical question for you.
Yeah.
Because this I noticed this immediately in the most recent fracas, the one that really set everyone off here in this New York Times article. I'll read the paragraph before and then the offending paragraph, and I have a technical question.
Okay.
At the same time, he said, he supports immigrants who enter the country legally and fully assimilate because what matters more than race is, quote, the culture of America, end quote, based on values brought to the United States by whites from Europe. This is not a quote. Now comes the quote. White nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive, Mr. King said. Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? So that apparently was incredibly offensive. But here's the thing. In his quote, white nationalist, and it's in quotes, white is capitalized. White supremacist is not capitalized. But then Western civilization is capitalized. Why did the second white not get capitalized? White nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization.
So white supremacist is not capitalized?
No.
Well, I think it's because
I just wondered.
That is a technical detail that the New York Times has a lot of editors who have nothing better to do but determine whether something should be capitalized or not.
Okay. So
Seriously.
There's a future for me. I don't know. I thought maybe there was.
They made the determination that the first one's white nationalist capitalized.
Yep.
Which means it's like it's a standalone item. White supremacist is like a thing that is not standalone. It's just like an attitude or a way of being instead of being a group. It's not a group. It can't be categorized as a group. Whereas white nationalists can. White supremacist is more of a way of being. It's not part of an institution.
Right.
And the last one, which was Western civilization, is a thing, as a group, is also a group kind of a thing. I think it's legal the way they did it.
What is probably the most egregious, actually, is the Western civilization part. I think that's what people take the most offense to.
A lot of them.
So,
teaching that stuff.
I also don't understand
the Greeks.
I mean, if you say nationalist, but if he actually said white supremacist, yeah, how can you not find that language offensive? So he screwed up there big time. But just all the stuff that's brought in, you're right, they're out to get this guy.
Yeah, no, they're out to get him, and we're talking about, and starting with the New York Times, which, for example, we had Jill Abramson, who
the Berkeley Hummer,
who said, "Do you have a clip from her? That perfect clip."
Yeah, I can get it while you finish. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Jill Abramson butt slammed the New York Times for being irrational about Trump and then kind of ruining their journalism chops. A few months ago on Al Jazeera, Seymour Hersh was floating around promoting his book Reporter, and he was asked specifically about journalism in the United States from this kind of a douchebag interviewer. And I want to play that clip of Hersh on journalism. This is what he thinks of journalism.
I think it's going to hell.
Now, what you have is, if you don't like Trump, you read the New York Times and Washington Post and watch certain cable shows, CNN. If you like Trump, you watch Fox News and you read other papers.
But they're not equal, though, are you? That's buying into a Trump narrative. Fox News is not the same as New York Times. New York Times still does good journalism in a way that Fox News doesn't.
But the credibility of the New York Times, because it's so hostile to him, maybe legitimately, but over the top, I think. They've gone way over the top in terms of like writing an anonymous letter.
How is that any different from my assertion that journalism is just an invalid profession that no longer should exist?
He didn't say that.
No, I know, but I did.
Yeah, well, that's how it's different. Anyway, you have Jill there, so we just get a feeling for her.
Obviously, I read the New York Times like all day long, mainly on my iPad app.
Can't get enough of that.
No. Okay, do you have some of her, or is it...
No, I got nothing.
just a gratuitous Jill Abramson, and why not? And why not?
So the New York Times is out to get King. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea what's behind it, but they're out to get him.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible that all these elements all put together is like, hey, this guy's bad. Let's get rid of him. I mean, they tried to get him voted out this last election cycle, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, but he barely won, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he barely won, but he won.
Well, you know what? I'll be boots on the ground in Iowa in about a month. Maybe I'll learn something.
You'll be able to do some Q&A.
Some boot on the ground.
I bet you somebody in Iowa will come up to you and say, well, here's the reason that they're going after Steve King, and it's going to be something probably that we don't know. That's a hint to you showing up for that meetup, people.
Yes. On the 22nd of February, date to be determined, meetup.com.
22nd of February is a date.
Yes.
You mean time to be determined?
Place to be determined.
Place to be determined.
Place to be determined. Thank you for keeping me
honest.
Honest, yes. Got some other social justice warrior stuff, a little bit of outrage.
Well, while we're on that topic, let's go to the Lear Foundation. I got some new clips from the guy who started it.
Do we need to explain the Lear Foundation? Probably a good idea.
I think you should explain it and maybe play the original clip, and then I have some additional clips that I think work well.
Okay. Well, why don't you start while I look up the clip?
Okay. Well, the Lear Foundation was actually it's a subset of the Lear Foundation, which runs out of USC, and it is a group of people. And it's got a certain name, the Health and something.
Hollywood Health and Society.
Hollywood Health and Society, and it's for all practical purposes a lobbying group that lobbies writers working in LA mostly to do certain kinds of stories.
Oh, it's beyond that. If you look at how they operate, they offer free experts. So if you're doing a show,
it's in the clips. Yeah.
If you have a disaster movie, they'll get someone for you. Here's the backgrounder that we. I don't even know how old this is. Let me see if I can find out.
Most of these revelations came. The clips I have are from 2013.
Yeah,
clips I have are the guy who founded it.
Yeah, this is from 2013 as well, I think. So here's a quick understanding.
So in the course of our work, this is in the 2 years, 11 to 13, 335 storylines that we worked on have been aired. We've worked with 35 networks in the past 4 years. 91 different television shows.
Yeah, they got some numbers for sure.
Yeah, I have that clip too, but I have some additional things that let's start with I have some additional information that is kind of interesting. Let's hear Lear Kaplan writers meetings, and it's got a little of that clip and some more.
So we will put on a topic that is of interest to us, and we hope it's of interest to writers. So in that year or recently, addiction, fact and fiction, a world of stories, which is about global health stories, place matters, which is about in particular, how income is a huge determinant of public health. Beyond Aaron Brockovich, something about toxins in the environment. Who Shall Live and Who Shall Die and Why, which was about violence and unnecessary deaths from disease. So in this way, by putting on these briefings, we are in some ways choosing topics to get them onto the radar screen of writers, but it's all voluntary. It's there. If you want to come, great. We want to throw a spotlight on it. Similarly, we call the writers, the showrunners, and we say, you know, the most marvelous expert is coming to town next week. This person knows everything there is about epidemiology or biological warfare. We thought your writers might be interested. We'd like to bring him or her in for an hour. And almost always they say yes. So even though we are a resource, we're an especially friendly and a little bit aggressive resource trying to bring to the attention of writers issues of prominence. And by the way, the people that we bring to the writers' rooms turn out often to be the basis for characters that appear in series. And because of that, we pay special attention to having women and minority scientists and doctors among the people who come, because that illustrates, without saying a word about it, that these are people that do this kind of work.
Excellent. You're doing God's work.
Great stuff.
We should remind the listening audience that Norman Lear produced All in the Family, Archie Bunker, and just to show you the power of the Norman Lear's work, Archie Bunker, the guy at the time, as we've discussed before on the show, was your typical middle-class, white-collar, working Democrat. However,
no, blue collar.
I'm sorry, white collar, blue collar. However, he was branded as the Republican,
as a Republican racist,
which was not. I mean, you said your dad was very much like Archie Bunker.
Everybody's dad was back then,
yeah, and they were Democrats,
and they were all Democrats.
Okay, so
they all worked for a living.
That's how powerful.
That's the way you used to put it. Do you work for a living?
Yeah, very powerful. Powerful stuff.
Somehow made them Republicans, and there was never a Republican in the group. And the Archie Bunker character was a stereotypical Democrat union guy.
Yeah, and it was so effective that Rob Reiner is still mentally disturbed from that whole era.
Yes, he is. He's been confused. His brain was
very scrambled.
So I got a kind of a kick out of this following thing. This is Lear Kaplan, Climate Changes.
So in the course of our work, this is in the 2 years, 11 to 13, 335 storylines that we worked on have been aired. We've worked with 35 networks in the past 4 years, 91 different television shows. We have a brand new aspect of Hollywood Health and Society, which is to work with on the topic of climate change. Woo! Where, again, all these different activities, writer briefings, screenings, newsletters, and so on, are an attempt to provide free resources to writers who want to include climate change as one of the storylines that they're working on. And just to give you an example of that climate change work, a few weeks ago, there was a field trip. We do something called story bus tours to the JPL NASA lab in Pasadena, where we brought something like 37 writers and producers to experience the most amazing stuff that they have going on to inspire them in this area.
Amazing.
So we get the propaganda coming in from every which way. Of course, nobody counters
and it's free. It's free writing, and I was wondering about that. Do these Hollywood Health and Society writers, do they get writing credit?
No, they're good consulting credit. When they bring the experts in, and some expert, wants to do a little extra work and say, we'd like to bring you on to do help us with the story.
Right.
They get a consulting gig.
But you're not going
to get no. The
no
Writers
residuals.
Guild controlled. No.
Okay.
The Writers Guild controls how those credits are doled out.
All right.
And these guys don't get any credits.
Got it.
Now, So I found that last little tidbit to be the one that was the most interesting to me, which is Lear Kaplan 2030. How did they get their money?
When I started Hollywood Health and Society, it was the first program that we started. So it is now about to enter its 10th year. We are funded largely by the U.S. federal government. And our number one sponsor since the beginning has been the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And other federal agencies that have supported us are the the Division of Transplantation of the Department of Health and Human Services, the National Institutes of Health, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. And in recent years, our federal funding has been joined by private philanthropy in the funds from the California Endowment and also from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Now there's your borderline clip of the day.
Clip of the day.
Yeah, that's enough to make you cringe.
Yeah.
So the U.S. Now, by the way, this speech was given in 2013, so you have to add another 4, 5, 6 years.
I'm sure there's tons more fun people financing that.
Yeah, this guy must be this is out of the University of Southern California, or as we used to call it in the Pac-12, the University of Spoiled Children. They have this little group right out of the Annenberg School, and I think it's deplorable. I think it's the fact that there's nothing to counter it. This is propaganda. It's a propaganda mill.
It is kind of, it's certainly for in the day that might have hit up against the Smith-Mundt Act. I mean, it truly is propagandistic, and the government is paying for it.
It takes advantage of the fact that, and I'll say this from, I think, a reasonable perspective, that generally speaking, writers are lazy. And in the journalist area, they are fed stuff by public relations agencies traditionally. Nowadays, they are just paid extra money and told to write a native ad, but that's different. This is a similar situation where you, instead of having public relations agencies knocking on the door saying, "Hey, we wanted you to promote climate change," they have this right out of the J School, of Annenberg School at USC. They bring these guys out and fellow journalists. And
I feel that
everybody means well.
This needs to be disclosed if this has taken place. It's like how much of this. So, for instance, in everything we're seeing, how much of eating bugs is coming from the Lear Foundation? Is that something they are advocating? That's a
good question to ask. Well, I put a call in.
Do experts say that?
To Kaplan is I want to do an interview with him.
Aha.
Now, whether or not this ever happens is another.
Did you say go ahead and listen to episode 1104? We'll be talking about.
Listen to this episode. But if the guy's got any chops, if he believes in what he's doing, he would gladly have an interview to tell me where I'm wrong.
For instance, so what's happening now? It's interesting that it's CDC, so it's health oriented. That's why Bill and Melinda Gates are in this, because they can everything they do is under the guise of health.
Yeah.
And I guess climate change is for your health, since we're all going to die.
Yeah, voting Democrats for your health.
For your health. What's this this meat stuff? The CES, they had fake meat. Everywhere there's meat. People trying to recreate meat.
Yeah.
Now the meat industry is...
It's about climate change.
Yes, the meat industry is trying to protect the word meat so that you can't use it if it's not meat.
I agree with them.
Yes. Here, there's an Israeli firm, Aleph Farms, and they say they actually have grown real meat in a lab.
What we're going to try today are the first thin slices of steaks we have produced in a lab setting.
I think this is going to be the greatest revolution in the history of modern agriculture.
This lab-grown meat is not just a plant-based alternative like the Impossible Burger.
There's a technology that exists that allows us to, for all intents and purposes, have our bacon and eat it too, without any pigs being harmed.
Cultured meat, lab-grown meat, clean meat, whatever you want to call it, is identical to conventional meat at the cellular level, just grown in a lab, no slaughter involved. Its arrival could have massive implications for meat eaters, the U.S.'s $200 billion meat industry, and the environment. And it's happening at a pivotal time.
We can't handle more agriculture, and this growing demand is asking precisely that, and we're going to reach a breaking point.
Ooh, breaking point, breaking point, breaking point. You know what that means.
We're all gonna die!
Eventually. So they have done it. They've done it at the cellular level. So they've cloned meat.
That's, yeah, kind of, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I'm sure it's got, let's just take meat, for example. Let's take a nice juicy steak. Let's take a New York steak. Now, when you eat in New York, you cook it you can cook it for different amounts of rareness. You can have very rare, you can have overcooked, and the steak will toughen up when you cook it too much. And then if you compare it to another cut of meat, which has some connective tissue within it, and which you can make into a stew. There's all these different ways of cooking meat that have been developed for hundreds of years. And there's different qualities to the finished product to the point where you can bite into a lousy piece of meat from one of the lousy meat growers, and you chew on it and you go, this is terrible. I don't like this meat. You spit it out. And then there's optimal meat, a really good, prime filet, or let's say a New York strip.
How about like that sirloin from Costco?
And you bite into a good prime piece of meat, and you got the right mouth feel, the right texture, the right flavors. They can't do that in a lab.
No, everything they showed.
It's going to be grisly. It's going to be grainy, or
you
chewy.
Are right.
It's going to be like a dried.
Let me just tell you,
but you'd ever have a dried grapefruit?
Hold on. Everything they make, everything they show is not a steak. It looks like hamburger or ground beef. It's ground. They're not making steaks.
Yeah, it's going to be ground beef.
It's ground beef. Yeah,
hamburgers for McDonald's.
Yeah.
What I believe is going to happen. They're going to start experimenting with this by slipping it in. So you're going to have the hamburger will be contaminated, because there is, I think, a rule where you can't call it a hamburger after there's, so much contaminated in it, wood pulp or whatever they like to put in these burgers.
No, it's a silicon.
No, there's actually a wood pulp. It's
don't you remember Taco Bell had like sand?
Oh, that's Taco Bell. They got some other. Who knows what
meat? It's meat. It's meat. It's sand.
Yeah, they got a bunch of weird stuff in their meat.
Yeah.
But this will go into the Taco Bell taco.
Yeah.
And it won't be much of a difference. And, if it's 10%, 20%, and it'll save them a bunch of money. Maybe. I don't even know it's going to be that cheap.
No, it's just going to. Oh, of course it won't be cheap. They'll be gouging people with this technology. It's to save the world. You have to spend extra to save the world.
Yeah.
Of course.
The Save the World taco. They're not going to sell it. What people want is $1 taco.
Save the world taco. $10, but hey, climate change. It's your problem. Eat it. Yeah.
Okay. What else we got?
Well, okay. We had the confirmation hearing in the Senate of the proposed, the nominated Attorney General, a very interesting choice.
I've been watching some of this, and I will have to say that woman, that senator from Hawaii, Hirono, whatever her name is.
She's the worst.
She is a moron.
Do you have any clips of her?
No, I couldn't stand it.
I got one of her fighting back against her fellow Islander, Tulsi Gabbard, who was announced she's running for 2020. But we can't have Tulsi Gabbard because back when President Obama didn't want same-sex marriage, she had the same idea. Now, she did reform, but...
just like Obama did.
Yeah, but it was, a little too late.
Senator, I also want to ask you about the 2020 primary. Your fellow Hawaiian legislator, Tulsi Gabbard, has made clear she's going to run in 2020, but she's run into some trouble over past opposition to LGBT rights, as well as with her ties to Assad. Do you think you could support Congresswoman Gabbard in her bid in 2020?
I'm going to be looking for someone who has a long record of supporting progressive goals and ideals. And I certainly wish all of our candidates the best, because it is going to be a long, hard race. And so I wish everyone well. But for myself, in these times of what I would call not normal times, I want someone who is very much has been on the page in terms of supporting equal opportunity, choice, all of the kinds of issues that I have been fighting for decades.
It sounds like you don't think Tulsi Gabbard has done that.
Well, I wish her well, though, as I do all of the other candidates.
Oh, man, I like Tulsi.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
You think everyone's dumb. Everybody is dumb.
No, I don't think she's dumb at all. I would not put that moniker on Tulsi Gabbard.
Good. You don't like her.
I just don't like her because she's on this Council on Foreign Relations. And nobody talks
that's a
about
problem.
That,
that's a problem.
Other issues.
Yeah, everyone's got issues. Everyone's got problems. You went to, the OWL meeting.
The what?
The OWL meeting.
Yeah, I did.
What is it? Wait, what is that called again? I forget what it's called.
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove. Yeah, you Illuminati.
Yeah. It's like talk about your drinking club.
Well, I wanted to continue here because I wanted to go to.
Well, we're going to mention that Kirsten, whatever her name is, Gillibrand has also thrown her hat in the ring.
No, we were going to talk about Barr. That's where I was, and you brought up Hirona. Yeah, back to Barr because I have a couple clips. So we need a new attorney general because Rod Rosenstein or Steen, he is apparently resigning, getting thrown out. I don't know. He's complicit. God knows. So this is the guy who was attorney general, correct? For Bush 1?
HW.
HW. And so I guess it's kind of like bringing the guy with experience, and he said, don't worry about it. I'll let Bob, his buddy Bob, my big bud, Bob is all about Bob. I'll let Bob take care of it. Bobberino. But when it came to what's actually going on with things that really affect us, such as privacy, data, sharing, tracking, the guy is completely and utterly clueless. I mean,
it's old school.
No, he doesn't deserve to have the job.
Well,
you got to have a whole. These clips will prove it. Here is the first one. And this is actually Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, asking the questions. And he's going to ask a couple questions about how he would, as Attorney General, would work with and handle some of the issues surrounding social media companies in Silicon Valley in general.
Just on the subject of ownership of data, as you know, Facebook is currently subject to a 2011 consent decree, as part of which it agreed not to release or share or sell personal user information without the knowledge and consent of its users. Facebook's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has adamantly insisted under oath, as recently as April 10th of 2018, that on Facebook users have complete control, those are his words, over everything that they share. However, as I'm sure you're aware, recent media reports have indicated that Facebook, in fact, routinely has shared user information without users' consent or even knowledge. Now, the Justice Department has the authority to enforce the terms of the 2011 consent decree and potentially to prosecute any violation. Will you consider doing so?
Well, because that is something that I might have to get involved with and supervise if I'm confirmed, I'd rather not, make any comments about it right now.
Okay. So, okay. Wow, great. Yeah, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'm sure he doesn't. He's probably thinking to himself, who got shot? Is anyone using a gun? In the commission of a crime? Is there anything going on? Is a communist involved?
Well, the senator from Missouri is going to try to explain this to him and saying, hey, man, there's there's a hampering of the flow of information. We got deplatforming going on. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
Let me ask you this. These same technology companies also control the flow of information. Or
the flow. The flow. No, they don't control the flow, but okay.
At least influence it. The flow of information to consumers to an unprecedented degree. I mean, you have to go way back in American history to find any analog, back to the paper trust, to find an analog of a small group of companies that control the information and influence the news and its flow to Americans to the extent that these companies do. And there's growing evidence companies have leveraged their considerable market power, if not monopoly status, to disfavor certain ideological viewpoints, particularly conservative and libertarian viewpoints. Do you think the Department of Justice has authority under the antitrust laws or consumer protection laws or other laws to address bias by dominant online platforms?
I would just say generally, I wouldn't think it would. I'd have to think long and hard before I said that it was really the stuff of an antitrust matter. On the other hand, it could involve issues of disclosure and other implicate other laws like that.
He has no clue.
I agree.
And also, neither does Hawley from Missouri. The data that's important is not your pick. Yeah, there's some value. Yes, for scanning and getting your facial recognition and your friends, but that's the data that is not yours. That's Facebook's data. They created that. They have their SDK and all the apps. They get all the data. That's their data. That's at least how they view it. There's a complete disconnect between what these jamokes in Congress feel data is and what it's really about. And this guy's he's just stock answer, unsatisfactory.
Okay, well, you can bitch and moan about this character all you want, but who could they possibly put up there for this job that would know anything?
I don't care. I don't give a crap. I just want to play these clips.
Is there any point, do you think, at which political bias could require a response? And I'm thinking, for example, Harvard law professor Jonathan Zittrain has written how Google or Facebook, for example, could manipulate their algorithms to significantly swing voter turnout to favor a candidate of their choice. Would that sort of conduct require a response from the department?
I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure. I'd like to know more about the phenomena and what laws could be implicated by it.
Well, that's at least an honest answer, and that I think, and Facebook actually has done massive experiment with more than I think it was 5 or 6 million people to see if they could motivate them to vote, and it did, and it's published, and we've talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
But nothing really comes quite close as and I'm happy to see that people are catching on to this and they're analyzing it, and the media is doing this. I think this is CBS This Morning even. It's not the real issue what's going on, but at least people are aware of. And when I saw this happen, it was over the weekend that it started, this post a selfie of you today and 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Everybody's posting a selfie of you and the first I saw this was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. This is clear. Something's up with this. And CBS This Morning did a pretty good job, but they missed the main point, I think.
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram users are posting photos of themselves a decade apart with the hashtag 10-year challenge. Some well-known people have gotten in on the fun, but the millions of publicly shared photos can be a treasure trove of information for companies working with facial recognition and artificial intelligence. Data and emerging technology consultant Kate O'Neill warned in a Wired opinion piece that's out right now. Thanks to this meme, there's now a very large data set of carefully curated photos of people from roughly 10 years ago and now.
Similar concerns were raised last year about Google's Arts and Culture app. It matched people with artwork that supposedly looked like them. Google says it discarded users' selfies once the matches were found. The website Pop Sugar released its own app for finding celebrity doppelgangers. The company later revealed photos submitted for its twinning challenge were initially stored on an unsecure server. Also, many Instagram users who created collages of their top 9 most liked posts of 2018 may have given their email addresses and other user data to a company in Uruguay. Really? Wow. Regarding the 10-year challenge, Facebook told CBS News, quote, our face recognition symptoms are not tracking, studying, or aware of this meme. Wired senior writer and CBS News contributor Izzy Lepowski is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
So Facebook says, look, this was a user-generated meme. They didn't have anything to do with it. But how could Facebook use these photos?
Right. So there's nothing inherently bad about this.
Right.
It was all in good fun, generated by users. But what we have to think about is what we're giving away when we're having this fun, right? And so in the case of the 10-year challenge, it is this streamlined, organized data set that shows what you look like 10 years ago and what you look like now. And if you're trying to train a machine learning algorithm to learn how people age, this is something that Facebook could do. This is something that other researchers might want to do. This gives you a pretty nifty way of doing that.
So I think that's a red herring because that's not what's going on here.
I think it might or might not be a red herring, but I like the idea. I was going to post something. I just didn't. I'm too lazy. I was going to post a picture of an old black man. That would be me 10 years ago. And then some other, Yoda or some other, just some other picture of some
other racist
Nick
meme.
Nick Nolte's mugshot.
Now that would have been good.
I used Nick Nolte's mugshot, his hair disheveled, and just some random 2 photos, and saying, well, I look a little better now. I don't know.
So my view on this is
seems like a goof.
Yeah, I mean, here's the things that actually do that are intended to get information from you and learn about you and profile you. Yeah, maybe these pics, maybe this particular meme. I don't think so. The games, like, do you know all these top 10 songs from the 80s?
Those are all a scam.
Those are all about tracking and getting information on you.
Yeah.
In this case, I think it's pure, and this may be the only thing that Silicon Valley really is going after. Is how can we move the needle just a little bit? How can we make you do something? And I think that's what this is about. What can we create that you will engage with? And if you look at now we've seen the Brexit, actually we've heard the actual Brexit guy, Dominic Cummings, talking about what he used. We've heard Pascal, the Trump digital guy, about what he used. All they're looking for continuously is what words, what color, what button to click can we use to make someone do something when we want them to?
Yeah, buy something.
Yes, buy is the low-hanging fruit. I think that's just the beginning.
Yeah, tell that to our donors on today's show.
Well, you got to engage some AI and ML to make sure the stuff works, man. That's what it's all about.
We had to get. By the way, I got a note from a producer who knows somebody in the higher echelons of the White House, and he or she said that there are people writing tweets for Trump.
Could be.
Not that he doesn't write tweets. It's just that
I don't know what that has to do with Silicon Valley trying to get you to buy stuff or click stuff.
Well, I think it's part of the same. It's the same. It's all part of the same blogosphere.
Yeah. All right. Blogosphere. Yes. Well, there's a lot of interesting things happen. Tim Cook actually wrote an op-ed in Time magazine about the data brokers, because that's really what it's about. And it's not. It's about what you're clicking online, but until you integrate that with a data broker who has your credit card or your debit card transaction history, that's when it gets interesting. And Tim Cook is writing in Time magazine, "We all deserve control over our digital lives. That's why we must rein in the data brokers." So he's on a jihad against the data brokers. Yeah, of course, he's trying to tell us that the iPhone, you're protected, while Australia just passed a law that all digital platforms must be prepared to give encrypted data with some kind of key to decrypt upon request.
Yeah, that's Australia. Nazis.
Well, you're on a roll today. Well, they are part of Five Eyes, which makes it very interesting because they share data amongst us and the UK and New Zealand and who's the other one?
Canada.
Scandinavia. Yeah. So, best thing is just don't say anything. Just sit at home. You can't
do what I do with my phone.
Yeah, take it off the hook. You can't even watch Roku anymore. Roku is they've become such a tracking advertising, because of course they built some cool boxes. They couldn't make enough money, or they have to make more. They went public, so you have to have a 20% increase continuously. And of course they got caught in the old, within like 3 days, we're going to put Alex Jones on our platform because we feel that, it's free speech, blah, blah, blah. 3 days later, they deplatform him. Well, because people said we got a lot of pushback from the community. No, your advertisers revolted.
This is news to me.
Brand new. Yeah, happened yesterday.
I know that they said they were going to put Alex Jones on the platform, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's on the platform. I go, if I want to watch Alex Jones, I can see him online. He's still there on the internet. And so I heard that they were going to put him, but I didn't know they kicked him off already. That's pretty lame. That's not a good sign. That's a gutless wonder kind of a move.
Well, here they said before they took him off, which was just days ago, we're a neutral platform. We're neutral. We just Roku's decision to allow the channel at all. Oh wait, that's not a quote. I'm looking for a quote. Okay, can't find a quote. But just a couple days later, they take him off. After the InfoWars channel became available, we heard from concerned parties, sleeping giants, and have determined that the channel should be removed from our platform. Deletion from the channel store and platform has begun and will be completed shortly. Do not move. It will only hurt more during the deplatforming process.
What if Pluto put him on? What would happen then?
Well, Pluto is on Roku, so then Pluto would be deplatformed. Yeah. Well, I think the cat channel is a problem, quite honestly. If you want to deplatform anything, it's the cat channel.
I love the cat channel. Don't take off the cat channel.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
And we continue our romp through the various producers who at least came in for today's show. 11:04, starting with James Melcher in Honolulu, Hawaii. He needs a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
He has something here to say. No, I have to read this over later. Joseph DeFeo in Long Island City came in, $111.11. David Boswell in Georgetown, Texas, $100 with a thank you. Tim Lang in San Francisco, California, $100. Lisa from Bensonville, Illinois, $100. Oh, I have a note. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, it's one of those notes.
Yes.
You got it.
On the table. I had to get up and get it. It's a cute little note, printed. I mean, printed with a pen. This week, the gulf of not donating finally got to me, and a check is enclosed.
Thank you.
I walk a mile to and from my government building in the Chicago Loop from the train every day, and listening to your show has made the walk a lot more entertaining and fun, even though a guy on a bicycle almost killed me yesterday. Instead of shouting at people, wouldn't it be better to bring back the little bicycle bells on the handlebars?
You know, the new dockless bikes in Austin all have a bell.
Can you take the bell off?
You're always sabotaging everything.
I'm just wondering.
Well, I will say our producer Scott in where is he? He said those damn birds. Oh, Columbus. Those damn bird scooters are all over Columbus, Ohio now. I was walking around the city learning to use my pilot dog since I'm legally blind, and they're everywhere. I'd be fine if people use the charging stands that are around them, but that's too much trouble. I took a few out though. Clothesline one idiot right off his scooter when he almost hit me, and Tucker, my guide dog, let me know which wires to clip. And I'm thinking, no. He has one. He doesn't have. He needs one of those collapsible canes. I don't know if he has one. He just needs to just bash the shit out of these people if they're on the sidewalk.
What's this? Boom, and knock the guy. Yeah.
It's like, sorry. Poof.
Well, I think he should definitely go to the city council and complain that this is a hazard to the blind folk.
It is.
It is. There's no doubt about it. The dogs don't like it.
No.
Anyway, onward.
And he did offer Tucker as the official pilot dog of the show.
Okay, he is now.
I think, and he's pretty. He's a handsome dog. Very. I'll forward you the picture. Very handsome dog.
Oh, good. Hello, Tucker. Good little boy. She says, I'd like to hear that jingle be one of the requests, and we can make it when we donate.
Which one is that?
I actually have one of those little bells around somewhere. I haven't used it on the show.
Oh, bike bell?
Yeah, please de-douche me.
Okie doke.
You've been de-douched.
I'll need job karma, as I'll soon be one of the 800,000 government workers who will not be getting paid this time, followed by shut up slave. The shut up slave is the most relevant to government work. Please do not use my last name, or the U.S. Marshals will be kicking down my door for talking about our private business. And they are probably more stressed than the rest of us because they have already lost their paychecks. Good karma to all of my fellow 800,000 government workers. I hope this ends by the time you get this. It didn't. I put 108 because 8s are supposed to be lucky.
Well, let me hand out that karma then. That's appropriate to do that here.
For the 800,000 workers.
Yeah, for 800,000.
You've got karma.
Yeah, of course they get screwed.
Sir Greg of the Parts Unknown, $9.99. Gary Fryer, $89.99. Samuel Gorski, 8008. Cole Candler in Lynchburg, Virginia, 8008.
Boob.
Sean O'Neill, 8008.
Did you have a boob linked in the newsletter?
No. No boob link. No
Just-
boob link. Boob
Just
link.
people
Boob
who
link.
just love to boob.
When I put one in, I get nothing. Russ Coury, 64. It's for his 64th birthday coming up. Bob, Baron Bob, a High Point, 5510.
Oh,
Sven,
Russ needed a de-douching, which I want to give him.
You've been de-douched.
yeah, and Baron Bob, NC4RG 73s.
73s, Kilo 5, Alpha, Charlie.
Sven Eric Jansen, I think, 55. Thank you for keeping us woke. We got the information on the Austin meetup today. You must have heard it on the show.
Yep, March 2nd.
March 2nd. Samuel Reichman in Peck, Michigan. First-time donor, $51.15. Bill Johnson, $51.04. Matthew Smith, $51. Sir Eric VM, Baronet of the Valley, $50.38. Aaron Buckler, $50.33. And the following people are $50 donors, name and location. Beginning with Micah Miller, Bethel, Pennsylvania. Joe DeRuin in Savannah, Georgia. Keith Yarborough in Austin, Texas. John Haller in Missoula, Montana. Dowlett Zanguzan in Bellevue, Washington. Trevor Hoagland in Portland, Oregon. Pate Snakes in Amsterdam, 50. Sir Chris Slewinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Sir Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus, California. And last but not least, J. Robert Appleby Jr. in Greenburg, Pennsylvania. I want to thank all these folks for being the producers of the show 1104, and hopefully we'll get more people to come on board. I would notice there's a lot of first-time donors, and
That's
after
nice.
years and years of guilt, they finally come on board. I think there's a lot more out there that need to pick up the slack.
Yeah, isn't it interesting, though, when we have these short donation days, just because there's not a lot coming in, you actually get more show. It's kind of wrong.
Yeah, well, let's cut it short.
We do more show. We do more
end it.
show when you donate less. No, let's not end it. Hey, we're going
No,
to
actually, that's not necessarily true, because I've noticed many times we've gone way over when we had long donation segments.
That's true. That's true.
And actually, and to be honest about it, I'll just give the little secret of the show. We really do the show to the point when we run out of clips and anything to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. Even if we have some stuff left over, we just inherently feel, okay, we're done this time.
Yeah.
And it's usually around the mark.
Yeah, it's around we try to do 2:45, but we often hit 3. And then
Just
sometimes
remember, we make it look easy.
which is the hardest part.
Well, I do want to thank these producers.
You do want to thank?
I do want to thank these producers for supporting the show. We certainly could use some more help for our Sunday show, which you can go to Dvorak.org/NA for that. But this is how our value for value system works. You're right. And people who have not donated before, we like seeing that. And we do have one knighting, thank goodness, so we'll do that in a moment. And please remember all those people who come in under $50. They're either anonymous or they're on one of our programs. That is also highly appreciated. Please, for Sunday, go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Some karmas?
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
With the short donation list comes a short birthday list. Today is the 17th of January. It's 2019. We say happy birthday to Russ Corey. He turned 64 yesterday, and Michael Shane turns 33 today. The magic number. We say happy birthday to you from everybody here at the No Agenda Show podcast. And then just one knighting, but we will do that quite gladly as we, hello, Blades.
Can you hold on before I get my sword out? I have to check on something. Just give me a second. I thought there might have been a second knight. What's the?
I have Matt Frank.
Oh, Matt Frank. Okay. I have. There's this. Whoops. Sorry. I'm looking. I have to go to the email. It's only gonna take a second. Okay, I've got it. Yes, Matt Frank is fine.
That's it?
Yeah. That's I'm like the Mueller report.
Yeah, you are like the Mueller report. One more time, everybody. Here we go. All right. Do you have your sword?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. All right. Hey, Matt Frank. Step it up, buddy. Come on over here at the podium. You are about to receive your coveted spot at the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames, and you belong there thanks to your contribution in the amount of $1,000 or more. And I am very proud to pronounceate the Sir Matt of Northeast Ohio for you, my friend. We have hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, cold brew coffee and cannabis, bourbon and bong rips. We got Captain Morgans and women with questionable reputations. We got harlots and haldol. We got redhead and rise, beers and blunts, Brazilian hotties and cachaça. We got ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, geishas and sake, breast milk and pablum, and of course mutton and mead. For you, our brand new knights, go to noagendanation.com/rings. And give us your information. We'll send that out to you. It is the coveted ring, the night ring, signet ring, with your sealing wax and your official certification.
Yeah, so we just ordered some more, so there's still a lag.
They're on the way.
They don't come overnight.
They are on the way.
They're on the way on a ship.
And thank you again for your courage. Dvorak.org/NA. And oh! Man, there was a weird story in California.
Yeah, and?
About this, about the officer who was killed. Was that
the woman?
Was that in Davis, California?
Well, there's a bunch of people getting killed in California everywhere. Is this the woman?
Well, this
that
is
she had
San
the
Francisco
police flag and it was all bent out of shape about it?
I don't know. Listen to this.
When the
no, it was not a woman.
Investigators got into the house where the suspect was, they found a letter, open face on the bed.
Davis Police Lieutenant Paul Doroshoff showed reporters this 6-line typewritten letter with the signature line typed out, Citizen Kevin Limbaugh. This is a photo of Kevin Douglas Limbaugh, now identified as the gunman who killed Officer Natalie Corona before turning a gun on himself inside his home. His letter offers new information about his mindset the night of his deadly attack.
We can only speculate that it was there to be seen immediately, but it was certainly in a position where it could be seen immediately.
The letter reads, the Davis Police Department has been hitting me with ultrasonic waves meant to keep dogs from barking. I notified the press, internal affairs, and even the FBI about it. I am highly sensitive to its effect on my inner ear. I did my best to appease them, but they have continued for years, and I can't live this way anymore.
That's quite the accusation. Of course.
Yes, this was kind of a story floating around, but it was kind of superseded by another story.
Well, you know, the cops, they found out what it was. What he was complaining about of the supersonic weapon?
What was it?
Crickets.
I guess I walked into that one.
Way into the door was so open.
Well, at least I didn't try to. I didn't kill it.
No, true.
Well, so this woman, before she was a policewoman, a couple years earlier, she was shown dancing and holding a blue line flag.
Oh.
You familiar with the blue line
No,
flag?
I'm
There's
not.
a blue line and a red line flag.
No, is the blue line?
It's an American flag that's it's in all black except there's a blue line in the middle of it, and it represents the police.
Oh, okay. The thin blue line.
Yeah, and it represents the police, and it just commemorates or celebrates, if you want to call it that, all the police that were killed in the line of duty. There's also a red one for the fire department. So she's held now. All of a sudden, especially around here, they're all bent out of shape about the flag. Now has become, according to the Me Too people, it's become a symbol of racism.
Oh yeah, what the blue line flag is a symbol of racism? Oh god.
Oh yeah, I wish I had a clip. I think I can have one for the next show. But yes, it's a major symbol of racism. So anyone who has that flag or displays the flags are racist.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was a story that caught my eye, mainly because I know how to pronounce it, Willamette. Most people don't know how to pronounce Willamette.
How would you pronounce it otherwise?
Oh, people say Willamette.
Oh, no, it's always been Willamette.
Yeah, and I know that because I got my fixed wing license at Willamette.
Oh, well, I know it because my daughter went to the University of Willamette.
Well, it's pretty crappy up there in Willamette. Listen to this.
The sign is up at River Place. There is no dumping of sewage in the marina, whether treated or not. Vessels suspected of dumping will be asked to leave.
I do see feces. I see waste, bags of waste. That's clearly from somebody living on the river.
Marlon Bump is the harbor master here at the private pay-by-month facility, and just a few feet away.
So we have a couple boats over here that have been on the docks for a little bit of time.
Is a city-owned dock with 2 transient boats tied up. More than a few days, and it's trespassing, but there are few rangers to enforce it. There's some of the 54 boats on the state's watch list right now, compared to 85 in 2016. We got a tour around Ross Island to show you close up some of these transient boats. Homeless folks buy them for a few $100s off salvage dealers. They don't have working motors to get to shore and pump out sewage or drop off garbage. No lights or anchors to be seen. And some, like the one 2 weeks ago along the East Bank Esplanade, are so dangerous they catch on fire. Written warnings to move along last summer did nothing. Now anyone living aboard these is trespassing. The Department of State Lands plans to start seizing some of the worst offenders at $4,000 a pop and towing them out.
But right now, we need to get the feces out of the water.
Yeah, the turds out of the water. So as I'm listening to this, it hits me. Our exit. We missed...
Turd removal?
No, better
We're
than that.
kind of doing that now.
No. There's a homelessness problem in America that is really bad. And in Austin, we see it too. It's all under the highways, under bridges. It's tent camps. Yeah. The solution, and we kind of missed out on the no agenda tents.
I know.
But we have another shot. Are you ready for it?
I'm all ears.
Inflatable bouncy castles. You see, we take the basic inflatable bouncy castle and we of course no agenda on them. We outfit them with some pockets and stuff so you can put all your gear in there and you can just line them up on any river. They're easy to deploy. You can snap them together so all your homeless friends, you can have like a convoy, you can have a whole platoon. You can be a big float. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
Come on.
Keep digging.
We can brand this. We can brand a no agenda.
We can brand it, but I don't know if you see one of these things floating out to sea.
You
flying around. It's like, who's behind this?
Can you imagine that promotion? Okay, you're just making my point for me.
Some attention, yes, especially if it's floating out to sea with the Coast Guard choppers. But unfortunately, probably sent us a bill.
Flotilla was the word I'm looking for.
Flotilla. Yeah, then there's a pun in there too. Well, I like the idea. I never heard, by the way, this clip was interesting to me because the homeless houseboat dwellers, because right now in Berkeley, the big thing in the Berkeley area, East Bay and San Francisco, of course, has been this way forever. The East Bay has got these people who buy or rent these RVs, and they live in those.
Yes, and they're everywhere.
And they're everywhere. And there's certain streets where they're lined up. There's just a slew of them all lined up, maybe like 50 of them.
You got to imagine
just garbage everywhere all around.
So what's the biggest problem with that type of situation? You have the RV, it's broken down, it won't go anywhere, so you have to drag it. With the bouncy castle idea, you just put the people on the bouncy castle and you can move them wherever you want them to. So we're going to move you guys over here. The flotilla goes along and it's perfect.
Back to reality.
Okay, I'll stop.
These RVs are all over the place. I never thought the creativity, I have to give them credit up in Portland, for coming up with the idea of finding old abandoned or beat up or pieces of crap. And by the way, a crappy piece of crap houseboat is kind of redundant. And you could kind of fit in, except you're not paying your monthly dues to be moored anywhere.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's not a bad thing. These houseboats for the homeless.
We have a lot of people living on houseboats in Austin.
Houseboats for the homeless. Austin has houseboats. The Austin River.
Houseboats for the homeless. Yeah. Bouncy castles for bums. I'm telling you, it's an idea.
Oh God.
Yes, we have lots of houseboats in Austin. They're big. They're big houseboats.
Are they for the homeless?
No, they're for rich people.
Not yet.
That's the only correct answer. All right. I just got an interesting note from the keeper.
Yeah.
So we have kind of ties into this story. So Nancy Pelosi has said to the president, you can't come to our house and do your State of the Union until you stop the shutdown and pass the appropriations bill. Now she has that right, I presume. She can do that, I guess.
Yeah. It's an invitation. The reason she rationalizes this, and I'm in total agreement with this, she says that since they don't have they can't afford the security. And I think that's
oh, really?
I think it's right. Yeah, well, I think she's correct.
Well, let's go to CNN and listen to Phil Mudd, notorious CIA shill, and let's see what he has to say about it.
Do you believe that this is a real national security threat? You're going to have all 100 senators, 435 members of the House, the diplomatic corps, the Supreme Court justices. You're going to have members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the entire cabinet with one so-called designated survivor who doesn't come because of, God forbid, some sort of security incident. Is this a legitimate security concern?
Heck no. I mean, this is political genius. I give Nancy Pelosi credit for her political sense. It's national security nonsense. We're talking about less than 60 acres and the huge national security threats of U.S. senators, U.S. congressmen, members of the cabinet, Supreme Court justices, and guests of, for example, of the president. And that's that we can't secure 58 acres? Are you kidding me? There's 40,000 plus flights every day in this country, Wolf. They're still flying in the FAA, which in the midst of this crisis is still operating, can manage 40,000 plus flights, and we can't do 58 acres? I applaud her for coming up with the genius of trying to corner the president on this, but from a national security perspective, this is a Kardashian moment. This is fake.
Strong words from Phil.
How dare you disagree with Phil Mudd? You're wrong. Wrong again, Dvorak.
Obviously some CIA reason they want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I think that she's correct, and he's going to give the State of the Union address at some point, and it's going to be whenever it is. And who cares? It's
apparently,
not like it's a big deal.
According to the keeper, who just sent me a message, Trump just canceled Pelosi's trip to Belgium, Egypt, and Afghanistan because of the shutdown and said she can go, but she has to fly commercial.
A little back and forth.
A little back and forth. Well, there's 800,000 people who haven't been paid. It's getting a little complicated for people.
They're going to have to do something about this. In fact, there's this. I got a little clip from PBS. Work recall, no pay. They're doing this stunt, which has got to irk people.
Also today, the Federal Aviation Administration called another 2,200 aviation safety inspectors back to work. And the IRS recalled to work 46,000 furloughed employees, 60% of its workforce, to handle tax returns and refunds. None of the workers in either agency will be paid.
Yeah, there was an interview with Trish Gilbert. She's executive vice president at the union, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. And I think it's worth listening to what she had to say, because her message is clear. Obviously it's a stressful job. You not having enough people is stressful. But her mind, I'm not quite sure where her mind is. She seems like a very political person. Let's just have a listen here.
In the air, is there any reason why people flying should be concerned that there's not enough man and woman power to keep planes safe as they're flying?
Right. Well, each day that this shutdown continues, the situation gets worse and worse. There are several complicated, complex layers in our system to ensure...
Just so you know, several complicated, complex layers in our system. That is a bunch of gobbledygook if I ever heard it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Several complicated, complex layers in our system to ensure that it maintains the critical safety components that we all rely on when we fly. What we don't want to see is a catastrophic event occur, and for us to come to you and say, we told you that controllers are working longer hours, they don't have their support staff, they're going to work unpaid, so they're not sleeping at night, they're looking for other jobs.
Right.
Maybe
I'd like the conclusion. I mean, yes, I can see the stress, but you got to be very careful when you say these things. And I also think the air traffic controllers who were there should be a little pissed off at this woman. They're very capable of doing it also shorthanded. They've done this a lot. So, you can't sleep.
So they're not sleeping at night. They're looking for other jobs. Maybe they're driving Uber after their shift. This is unacceptable. Sure. And we cannot come to this country and expect these people to continue to...
It's also weird. We cannot come to this country and expect... I don't understand. Is she talking about immigrants, or is she talking about the shutdown, or just she doesn't know
Who
what
is this again?
She's the executive vice president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
She's the head of the union.
Yeah. So they're not sleeping at night. They're looking for other jobs. Maybe they're driving Uber after their shift. This is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And we cannot come to this country and expect these people to continue to work without pay. How long can they do that?
What is she talking about? We cannot come to this country?
I know. That's what I said. It's just weird. But she continues.
Expect these people to continue to work without pay. How long can they do that?
Quite alarming to raise the possibility of a catastrophic event. Are you saying that the effect of this shutdown, just in terms of folks not sleeping, not having... some people have been called back, but not all those workers have been called back. Are you saying that is a reasonable, credible concern?
I'm saying the system is disrupted.
Another one is disruptive. I don't know. She's got other things in her mind.
Are you saying that is a reasonable, credible concern?
I'm saying the system is disrupted, and the people need to be focused on the job that they're paid to do. Unfortunately, they're not getting paid to do it right now. They need 100% focus. They need not to be fatigued. They need not to be worried about whether they're going to have to sell their house, whether they're going to have to leave this profession altogether.
Now, the air traffic controllers is interesting by itself. We went for a long time without them when they had the walkout under Reagan.
Right.
And he wound up firing all of them.
Yeah. You guys walked out. You're out of here.
I believe there is also some law or regulation or some reg that if the shutdown has lasted for 30 days, then I think you can start firing people. There's something weird. I'm not sure. I've not seen it in writing. I've only heard people talk about it.
Well, maybe somebody can help us.
I have one more part 2 to this clip, just about the safety of flying. She's fear-mongering.
Given all that you've just laid out, and it is alarming to hear, bottom line, would you say, Trish, that flying is less safe today than it was a month ago?
I would say it is less safe today than it was a month ago. Absolutely. We do not have the professionals on the job. We are working with bare bones crews. We have controllers there doing what they do very, very well. But how long can you expect them to do it without all of the systems behind them to keep the system safe and the planes?
She's just talking crap now. The systems are up and running, I'm sure.
In the air. It's not just the air carriers that we're working through the system. It's life flights with organs. It's packages with cargo flights. It's the military. All of this is very important to this country. It's an economic engine, the air traffic control system in this country. And right now you're putting this incredible strain on the system, which is unacceptable and unreasonable. This is a horrible game of chicken that we're in the middle of. And we need to get out of it, and we need to get out of it today.
I agree we need to get out of it, but I disagree that this is somehow really making life unsafe for air travel.
Donald!
Yeah, really. Stand it!
Huh. All right. Well, I don't have a clip about Richard Engel did a whole bit on Syria and I wish I had this clip. I don't understand why I don't have it.
I see here Richard Engel, NBC, on Syrian war and recent murder.
Is that at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's the clip. Let's play that clip because I pulled an ISO from him that's very funny. But
witnesses tell NBC News U.S. troops were at a restaurant halfway down this street. And then this happened when a man in civilian clothing approached the door. A suicide bomber apparently lying in wait with a powerful explosive vest. 4 Americans were killed, 2 U.S. service members, a civilian working for the Defense Department, and a contractor. As rescue helicopters came in, witnesses told NBC News U.S. forces may have set a dangerous pattern, coming to this same restaurant repeatedly. ISIS almost immediately claimed responsibility. The group, it seems, trying to show the world President Trump is wrong.
We've beaten them badly. We've taken back the land. And now it's time for our troops to come back home.
But U.S. troops are still here in Syria for now. And their allies, Kurdish forces, who took us into the battle zone, say the U.S. is leaving a war that's not finished. These areas here on the front line are completely devastated, and U.S. and Kurdish-led forces are still fighting against ISIS. There are as many as 4,000 ISIS fighters still in this area. Hardly mission accomplished. Vice President Pence today sees it differently.
The caliphate has crumbled and ISIS has been defeated.
I like his alliteration. The caliphate has crumbled. Well done, Pence boy. Nice.
Has crumbled and ISIS has been defeated. We'll stay in the fight to ensure that ISIS does not rear its ugly head again.
But one of President Trump's allies is warning about pulling out the 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria too soon.
It's set in motion. Enthusiasm by the enemy we're fighting. You make people who are trying to help wonder about us. I saw this in Iraq, and I'm now seeing it in Syria.
The Trump administration says it will leave the fighting on the ground here in Syria to the Kurds. But it's hard to see how they'll be able to do that after U.S. troops pull out, because they have no planes, no helicopters, and almost no heavy weapons.
Oh, he's just such a dope.
Now, this is a pro-war report, by Engel. And there was a bunch of discrepancies in here that I thought were weird. I thought we were pulling out and made a deal with Turkey to take over and let the Kurds go back to what was formerly Kurdistan.
Well, there's another threat there that if Turkey messes with the Kurds, then Trump would destroy them economically.
So why is Engel saying that the Kurds are going to take over the fighting when it was supposed to be Turkey, who do have air and all these other capabilities that the Kurds supposedly don't have? Now, why is this report being made in the first place? And why would he report that the Kurds are bitching and moaning, which is what he said, about the pullout, which I don't believe, by the way. I don't believe this report. I think this report is slanted, and he has this what really got me and got my attention to this report was the little ISO he has in here, which is hardly what I would call good reporting by making this commentary, and you can see the ISO, hardly mission accomplished.
Hardly mission accomplished.
Yeah.
What would you say that in? Hardly mission accomplished, which is not a reference to anything Trump has said, but a past reference. It's a callback to Bush on the aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished banner, which is a piece of propaganda that these people like to use to ridicule Trump for some reason. So this is something scamish about this. I'm very, very unhappy with this report.
Let's have this conversation as if we're in the Pentagon. Hey, did you see Rich? Great job. He even snuck in that stupid George W. thing about mission accomplished. Oh, great. We should put a little something extra in his paycheck for this week.
Well, there is that element. Somebody told him to make this report that way.
Oh, yeah.
Because Engel's always been kind of a stooge for the intelligence agencies. I noticed that when I first picked up. I mean, I picked up on it years ago with that fake kidnapping he went through and all this other stuff we ridiculed on the show years ago. But there was also this moment where he turned on the Intelligence Committee when Dianne Feinstein was leading it, and they wanted to release the torture report, and he was all in with the CIA. No, we shouldn't release it. What kind of journalist, this is what got me, what kind of journalist wants less information?
A libjo.
All right, I guess I made my point.
Yes, you have. And I would like to thank Gallup, Tom Starkweather, Danny Luce, and William Eby, and Cyborg Dave for all your work for the end of show mixes. Coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star States, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps, in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I am going to say, hello, red-tailed hawk, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Adios, mofos! And such.
Yeehaw! We're having ourselves a meetup, Texas style! Saturday, March 2nd, Austin, Texas. No Agenda meetup, Austin, Texas, at the Austin Muirworks. Saturday, March 2nd, come pay your respect to the Podfather and thank him for his courage. Come get jiggy with other like-minded producers. Remember, Saturday, March 2nd, Austin Beerworks and such.
Bill from Indy came through.
Hit it.
I spent it all on hookers and blow.
I thought that was disgusting.
Get out of my vagina.
Right now we have Obama. He won't call.
Get out of my vagina.
No.
Get out of my vagina.
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but try getting it out. Go ahead. And the poll just came out.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
I know that's right.
So you get in the fast-moving line, it's always some black guy just cranking away.
Right. He was seriously hot.
I wish it was a little longer.
Yeah.
He was soaking wet.
And wash your hands after touching any raw meat.
Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka.
I know that's right.
Get out of my vagina.
It's classified.
Classified.
Maybe.
Classified.
Not really.
Shut up already. It's science.
Really? It's real. Thanks, Obama.
Show some RESPICT.
Yay!
We're all gonna die!
Jungle fever, jungle fever, jungle fever, jungle fever!
I spent it all on hookers and blow.
Yeah, isn't that great? We need a couple more. These songs, man.
I like the calypsos.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds a lot like a Steele dossier.
I'm just sleuthing, but we both are sleuthing.
You've seen the intercepts.
No.
See, today I told you that I read the Steele dossier. Today I told you.
I got government sources.
Have you seen the intercepts?
No.
So what we have then is like the Steele dossier.
No. They have government sources. What is he, Nancy Drew? Sources have told us. No.
So what we have then is
people who are government sources.
That we have then told us like what we have.
No.
Sleuthing.
What is he, Nancy Drew?
Well, do we give you some little quick salads that the First Lady will make along with the Second Lady? They'll make some salads. And I said, you guys aren't into salads.
This is a very big deal. It is a special security event.
The eyes to the right, 306. The nose to the left, 325.
I'm filing an exploratory committee for President of the United States tonight.
Whatever happens to give me my job back, I don't care.
I would warn against taking their eye off the ball about what's going on in the world over some fast food at the White House to a football team.
And the truth of this shutdown is that it's actually not about a wall. It is not about the border.
Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's. We have Big Macs, we have Quarter Pounders with cheese, we have everything that I like, that you like.
According to officials from within the Trump administration, the shutdown is costing more than previously believed.
And I said, you guys aren't into salads.
Because we know where we are. No agenda. No agenda. No agenda. No agenda. No agenda. Because we know where we are. No agenda. Because we are. No agenda. Because we know where we are. No agenda. No agenda. No agenda. The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Hardly mission accomplished.